Adequate notice of this meeting was provided by sending such notice to the Asbury Park Press, Middletown Patch, and Middletown Township Public School District website, and the posting of such notice at the Augustine Minor Administrative Offices and each elementary and adult secondary school in the district. Mrs. Gallo, roll call.
Mr. Bennett?
Here.
Mr. Brand?
Here.
Mrs. Cavallini? Here. Mr. Cody?
Here.
Mr. Donnelly?
Here.
Mrs. Griffin? Here. Mrs. Muniz? Here. Mr. Wexler? Here. Mr. Oviedo?
Here. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, the mic's not on.
I think it's on.
Red Dodge Dakota truck outside with its lights on, license plate UMB 55D. If anyone has that truck, the lights on.
Red Dodge Dakota truck. Lights.
At this time, we're going to have the student and staff recognition presented by Dr. George, Dr. Township, and the board president.
Principals, cooperating, Dr. Carnier, and Mr. Rinaldi, thank you. Join us in celebrating your students.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Following students are commended for their outstanding academic and athletic achievements. We are proud of their efforts, congratulate them, their teachers, coaches, parents for their individual accomplishments, and recognize them for their talent and hard work. When we call your name, if you can please come up here and receive your certificate. Megan Kelly, National Merit Scholarship finalist. Megan is a senior at high school South. Qualified as a finalist in the 58th Annual National Merit Scholarship Program, demonstrating an outstanding academic record throughout high school. She was endorsed and recommended by Mr. Ranella, high school principal, and has a superior SAT score. Of the nearly 1.5 million juniors in 22,000 high schools who entered the 2013 National Merit Scholarship Program by taking the 2011 preliminary SAT National Merit Scholarship qualifying test, only 15,000 advanced to the finalist level. Megan can now compete for more than 8,300 National Merit Scholarships worth more than $32 million. We commend Megan for her extraordinary achievement. Congratulations. Cody Trisuli. 2012 U.S. Junior National Trampoline Champion. Cody, a freshman at High School North, won the 2012 U.S. Junior National Trampoline Championship this past year and is currently training 6 days a week to earn a spot to participate in the 2016 Summer Olympics. We are proud of our 5 high school North students who participated in the Project Runway competition at their recent Cinderella's Closet fundraiser. Cinderella's Closet of Monmouth County is dedicated to promoting self-esteem among young adults by providing less fortunate high school students in our community the opportunity to attend their prom in style. Gabrielle Eakling, Janet Appel, Sydney Valitti, Jani Nigel, and Brittany Sharkey fashioned their own prom gowns and modeled them at the evening event. The judges' presentation of the Best Overall Design Award went to Gabrielle Eakling. Gabby did an amazing job designing and creating her very elegant, sophisticated gown. Congratulations.
Great job.
Emily Lavin selected to play in the New Jersey All-Star North-South Basketball Clinic. Emily is a senior at High School North, was selected to play in the New Jersey All-Star North-South Basketball Clinic on March 17th at Rider University. This game brings together the best scholastic basketball players of all of New Jersey. It is a special honor for Emily, for High School North, and for our district. Congratulations, Emily. Game right now, so congratulations to High School South girls bowling team and Coach Ryan McCabe, if Ryan's up here, for winning the B North Division title. Congratulations. Kristen Antone. Congratulations.
Go champ.
Great job. Thank you. Congratulations to High School South's girls swimming team, Coach Denise Skinner, for winning the A North Division title. Denise, if you're here, please come on up. Congratulations to Christy DeGenova. Phoebe Gartside. Amanda Ginatasio. Lauren Holman. Samantha Hubner. Kaylin Bush. Allison Kramer. Caitlin Lowe. Morgan Johnson. Elizabeth Madsen. Danielle Marino. Christine Morrow. Emma McCaffrey. Megan Gowan. Amy McCord. Aaron Minorini. Christina Naha. Anne-Marie Spooner. Catherine Scott. Melissa Segovia. Sarah Segovia.
Yes, ma'am.
Martha Smith.
Also, yes. know there's some seats that are freeing up, so if people want to move around and grab those seats, but if we could maintain a quiet order, we really want to make sure that we have the opportunity to hear our student updates.
Good evening, Board of Education.
Mike's not on, Mike's not on.
I'll just speak really loud. So Thursday night at 7 p.m. at the Middletown Public Library, South will be hosting South Spring Musical Showcase performance, where South students will give a special presentation of the Spring Musical Cabaret. The whole performance will be held at South on April 11th, 12th, and 13th of next month. This past week we had our first training for our incoming freshman bottle cappers. Between North and South we have over 100 young bottle cappers entering the program for next year, so we are maintaining our growth over the past few years, and it looks like at this rate we will maintain our spot as the largest student organization in the high schools. Upon returning from spring break, South will be hosting many fundraisers, including senior volleyball tournament, a teacher pop culture bee, which is going to be hilarious, and the annual and much anticipated Mr. South competition. Last Friday, Mayor Scharfenberger hosted an open forum for South students to ask questions about their town. It was, I have to say, very well attended. Some of the underclassmen and some of the upperclassmen had an opportunity to engage the mayor in some good conversations. So that was very nice of the mayor to do that for us. And still 1 week before many of the major colleges have released their admission decisions, South seniors have already been accepted to top-flight universities, including Bucknell, Lehigh, UVA, Notre Dame, Wesleyan, and Cornell. In the sports department, last Wednesday night was our Winter Sports Awards night at High School South, where South coaches were able to recognize some of their players for outstanding achievements and reflect upon their seasons. Coaches Awards as well as MVP Awards were distributed at this ceremony. And a really great video, courtesy of the Middletown South TV production students, was made, and it's now on the Middletown South website. It's really nice for the athletes, and it's really a great job done by the TV production students, and I encourage everyone to check it out. Also, after winning in the District 2022 wrestling tournament in late February, senior Trevor Finn went on to place second at the Region 6 tournament and represented South at the NJS IAA State Meet in March. South also has 4 seniors who will be participating in tonight's Shore Conference Coaches All-Star Game. Tom DeMeo will represent South on the boys' side, and Carissa Gray, Kira Gannon, and Jackie DeLuey will already have played. Their game was at 6 o'clock tonight. Jackie DeLuey scored 14 points in the first half, so she really represented South well. And girls basketball coach Tom Brennan was named A-North Coach of the Year. And final note, our Teacher of the Year, Miss Murata, was announced for South, and we congratulate her.
All right, good evening, everyone. So, North happenings for March 2013. The high school North food classes have donated $2,850 to North families that often lost their homes during Hurricane Sandy. The money came from the yearly bread sale, which once again was a resounding success. Also in the foods classes, 11 teams competed during the Cupcake Showdown for 2013 between students and faculty. Student teams took first, second, and third place. Senior Emily Lavin of the High School North Varsity Girls Basketball Team was named to play in the NJSIAA All-State Game as well as the Shore Conference All-Star Game. Great job, Emily, and congratulations to a fine career at North. The MHSN choirs have been preparing spring choral music for several upcoming events, including the William Patterson University Choral Festival in early April, the Broadway Cabaret at MHSN North in late April, the annual Spring Choral Concert on May 14th, and the High Note Competition in late May, and as well as the Pop Acapella Cabaret in June. Individual students from choirs have been working to prepare all state choir auditions throughout April. Students from the MHSN band and choirs have also been working in daily rehearsals after school throughout December, January, February, and March to prepare for the school musical and annual spring musical, Seussical. Students made up many of the musicians in the pit orchestra, and their choir members made up half the cast in the show, will also be active with the tech crew. Along with this, the North Drama Club had recently had their showing of Seussical the Musical on March 15th and March 16th. The The cast performed 5 shows, including 2 matinees, one for kindergartners, and as well as the Senior Citizen Show, which prior to the Senior Citizen Show, the Drama Club hosted its annual Senior Citizen Luncheon in the library. Young children and their families were also treated during a community event, which was held before the 2 p.m. Saturday matinee showing. Children were able to create crafts, sample cupcakes, and even have their picture taken with Cat in the Hat. The show was well received, as there were many tickets sold, as well, including over 400 tickets during the opening night. The Bottle Capper program is beginning to train freshman students to incorporate in the program for next school year. Currently, there are 60 freshmen at North and 55 from South in the training program. The program continues to be well attended, and the turnout positive results year after year. Guidance counselors conducted junior college meetings where they distributed and reviewed packets of information on how to use the college, career, and About Me sections in Naviance. Disseminated information about ACT/SAT with a list of testing dates, and discussed college and career choices for each student. The Asbury Park Press named Middletown North's Tom O'Neill first team all-shore for distance events, and Nikki Ross as first team all-shore for jumps. Tom is also the Central Jersey Group 3 champion, overall Group 3 champion, Meet of Champions winner, as well in the 2,300 meters. He also finished 5th in the 2-mile at the National Championship meet, which made him an indoor track and field All-American. Thanks everyone, have a great night.
At this time, we want to have an update on block scheduling by Dr. Carney and Mr. Ranella.
As we said, we're going to give you a brief overview. It's been 7 months since the implementation of the block scheduling, and we want to discuss with you some of the highlights of our program.
So one of the major incentives to go into the block schedule this year was the fact that our students traditionally have been allowed to take 7 academic courses. With the implementation of the block, we were able to provide them with an additional course. And this is just a slide to show the increase of AP exams that have been given in the district. Every slide you see here, the district side, it's Middletown North and South combined, the numbers are combined. So because of the availability for the students to take an AP period, a lot of them elected to choose another AP course, which in turn allowed us to increase the number of students that are actually taking AP exams. For the last 2 consecutive years, Middletown has been recognized by College Board for their participation in achievement and AP exams. And looking at these numbers, we're hoping to make it 3 consecutive years.
And the students have one of 18 possibilities of AP courses, a variety of the core content subjects, as well as AP Studio Art and AP Music. Right, now, in terms of negative behavior, we have had great improvements. As a result, you can see here from the slide from 2011-2012, the number of suspensions as compared now to 2012-2013. A lot can be said for this. The fact of the opportunity for the students to have that advisory period during the middle of the day, they have a chance to socialize with their friends, less restrictions with the cell phone usage because we're allowing them to have that opportunity to use their cell phones. Also enclosed for their instructional purposes. They can listen to their music. They have places to go and things to do. So we're very pleased with the fact that the number of referrals and suspensions have been low. Okay, also, EVDRS stands for Electronic Violence and Vandalism Reporting System. And one of the things you notice for substance abuse and harassment, intimidation, and bullying, during the advisory tutorial time, students have the opportunity to go to the auditorium for grade level assemblies. They meet with their assistant principals of operations, they meet with their student assistance counselor, they have the opportunity to meet with their guidance counselors and their case managers. There's a lot of education going on in terms of drug prevention and the harassment, intimidation, and bullying. In terms of violence and vandalism, again, the students are more engaged in their instructional time. There's less passing time between the blocks, so the students are more motivated and more engaged in what's going on as far as the instruction is concerned. And we do have adequate supervision during the tutorial advisory period. We have double the amount of people in terms of the security guards. All the administrators are out, the teachers have their assigned duties, And as a result, we're very pleased to tell you that the number of referrals and suspensions have drastically declined.
This is a slide illustrating the attendance rate, overall attendance rate compared from last year to this year. There's been an increase in student attendance of 16%. The way you're looking at here is, I know they look like rather large numbers on the left-hand side, but remember, this is district. So combined, we're dealing with nearly 3,000 students per day. So this is student attendance per day. And you can see that it's quite a significant drop in attendance. And to me, this is really impressive. And I eat lunch with the students. Once a month, I have an opportunity to eat with some of our students. And I was asking, what they thought of block scheduling. And a lot of the students shared with the fact that, with the 80 minutes of instructional time, that they can't afford to miss any school. So, if there was that day last year when they thought maybe I could just, I would have a little cough, maybe I could miss it. This year, that little cough, they're coming to school and they're participating and they're engaged in instruction. So this is a really, really good slide. And looking at our attendance, we've also had an increase of the attendance of the staff by 27%. Again, just as our students have bought into the block scheduling, our staff has also bought into the block scheduling. Our teachers are doing a great job of designing engaging lessons, and this is just an illustration of how well our staff has done as far as being engaged in the lesson and make sure they're in the classroom and they're not missing the instructions.
Okay, what can the students do during this 52 minutes? The seniors and juniors are the first ones to have their lunch. They can eat in two different locations within both of the buildings. Ours is in the lower gym, and the second eating venue is in the cafeteria. After they finish their lunch, they have time to go to any one of these sections here. First of all, we have study skill groups. These are usually run by the guidance department. Computer labs. We have 3 computer labs available for students here, as well as the media center. And just look around like this. This is exactly what it looks like during the 52-minute lunch block. That's how many students coming in here. That's why we're trying to have informal seating areas for them. The media specialist is here. She has a lot of activities, a lot of displays here for the students. Dr. George was here a few weeks ago, and as you say, right, Dr. George, the place is back to capacity, and I'm sure it's the same thing at High School South. In terms of students using the media center, the computer labs.
During that time also, we have assemblies in our theaters. We had 2 different opportunities to show films during that time. One was during Black History Month, we were showing documentaries, and also during School Violence Awareness Month, we took that opportunity to show films in the theater at that time. Our freshmen are engaged in freshman peer leader activities during that time, so they're working with their juniors and senior peer leaders in their advisory locations, transition rooms, I think we may call them up north. So they're engaged there. Our guidance department has set up different activities, different forums. We've had a college readiness program that's taking place in South where students can sign up and work with the guidance counselors in small groups. I know North has had.
We have something that's called Fast Forward Fridays, where they get together with their counselors and get onto the Naviance program to learn that new electronic system. The weight room is available at both schools during that time period. And also at North, we have a North Lions Fitness Challenge, where we're working with one of the nutrition teachers, the school nurse, and 2 of the phys ed teachers to help the students understand the importance of diet and nutrition for healthy bodies, minds, and spirits.
And obviously, most importantly, we have teacher office hours or extra help time where our students can go visit any of their teachers during that time. They can make up quizzes, they can get some extra help if they're struggling in a certain area, but that's available at that time. And just to clarify a little bit, I think there's some questions out there on as far as freshmen and sophomores as the protocol that we're following there. I know I can speak for both of us. Freshmen and sophomores, we're not restricting any of their movement. They're allowed to move throughout the building just as the juniors and seniors are. The only thing that we were asking is that when freshmen and sophomores come into their advisory room, they have a pass to the destination where they're going. But we are in no way limiting their movement throughout the building. We're encouraging them, as well as their teachers are encouraging them, to get out, see teachers for extra help, get involved in clubs activities. So everybody has access to everything throughout that 52 minutes of time.
And I know the concern was, how do I get a pass? I might forget to get the pass to my classroom teacher. They can get a pass from the administrator, a guidance counselor, anyone in the main office. It's just the idea that we want some accountability measures here. Because as soon as go in transition and they go up to the teacher and say, I have to leave, I have to go X, Y, Z. We just want to know that they're going to their specified location. Otherwise, we have the entire school out during the first 26 minutes. We just want to have some accountability as to where people are going, what they're doing, and at any time they can get a pass. Mr. Vanella said, no one is told, no, you can't leave. As long as you have a destination in mind and you have a specific purpose, you're allowed to leave the building. And we interviewed some students and teachers, and you can read some of the comments here. They all have been very favorable in terms of the block schedule.
As we go through these, you'll see that a lot of the comments refer back to that advisory period, that 52 minutes in the middle of the day where the students have the options of getting extra help, visiting a teacher, go to clubs. But that seems to be a real focus on all of the comments, not only the students, but also when we interviewed some of our teachers. A lot of the comments were focused around that area.
Even though a teacher may be in charge of, say, 20, 25 students during the transition period, they're still offering extra help. Students could go to another transition room, meet with the teacher, meet with their friends there. So that opportunity is not just 26 minutes, sometimes it becomes 52 minutes. The teacher has her advisory that day. The students sometimes go and eat lunch in the classroom with the teacher, so that's 52 minutes of additional time that they can interact with their friends and do projects or with the teacher to get a further instruction. And here's something from the coaching staff. They think this is ideal. They could have preseason meetings. If they're having a game that evening, they want to watch tapes. Gives them an opportunity to meet with their team. And if students have to make it work, they can do that during that advisory tutorial and still make it to practice on time. So it's a win-win for both the coaches and the players.
When the decision was made last year to bring block scheduling in, we've dedicated a lot of our professional development days to block scheduling. And this is just kind of a rundown of what we've done and what we plan on doing. So 2 days in the beginning of September were dedicated to strategies that we can use during block scheduling. We have monthly PLCs that again are focused on instructional techniques that we can incorporate into the block. We also offer other staff workshops throughout the year. We have Master Teacher Innovation Labs. We just finished in February, we had Digital Learning Month, and the big initiative there was our Google Ninja project, where students, staff, community members were all able to get online and start taking some tutorials on the different Google apps that we have available and what we're using in our schools.
And teachers have an 80-minute block to prepare each day. A lot of times they have commonalities among their peers within the same departments. During lunch, you see people meeting together, doing interdisciplinary units, unit lesson planning, looking at the scope and sequence of their curricular areas. So it gives the teachers a lot of time to collaborate and work together on all the different subject areas. Lastly, we're going to have a survey prepared that we're going to give to all the stakeholders, the students, the staff members, parents, to get your feedback and your input as to how we're progressing here with the block scheduling. Okay, does anyone have any questions to ask? Yes.
I was the one that brought up the freshman and the sophomore because I met with the students for legal women voters, and they are concerned that they can't get if they forget to get their pass to go join a tutorial, it takes them a good 20 minutes because they're being told that if you don't have a pass ahead of time, you can't go get one. So maybe that needs to be addressed with them, and you need to let them know a better way to do it because they really want to take advantage of it, but they're saying it takes too much time with the pass. And I understand they need a pass, and so do they, but there's got to be a better way to work it out.
Thank you.
Here, finally, we have the presentation of the budget. Final proposed 2013-14 school year.
So excited to present on the budget in front of a full audience. First, I want to thank Mr. Riddell and Dr. Cartier for an outstanding presentation. Great job. Thank you for that. From the survey is we know we can always improve, we know we can always do better, but I think we have some really strong data points that show that it's been an overwhelming success to this point, and that wouldn't happen without the concerted effort of all of our staff, our support staff, our secretary, our custodial staff, our security staff, our teachers, our paraprofessionals, just an outstanding job, not to mention, as you saw by the presentation of our administrative team, that they're first rate. So thank you very much. Outstanding. Outstanding. The budget. This is our second presentation. We had a board meeting. We did the workshop presentation, and that was a tentative presentation. We also presented to our parents' organization, our PIC, which the PIC meeting is a monthly meeting that has representatives from all 17 of our schools. And we did a presentation there. And now, as we get ready to do our final adoption, we're doing a second presentation. So at this time, we'll move on to where it all begins. And it really does all begin with the mission statement. You know, it is the job of the school system to offer a comprehensive, thorough, and efficient education. And for us, that begins with our mission statement. And so I won't read from any slides. These slides, as well as the block scheduling presentation, will be available on our website. But that is our mission statement. And you know, just to highlight a couple of things, that New Jersey core curriculum and the national Common Core curriculum standards really are a focus and delivering that the very best education that we can, and that encompasses that. So, approach to the budget. And I think that in the two budgets that I've been proud to be a part of along with the board, you will see over those two budgets that we absolutely have a real focus on professional development. Our goal through reflective practice is to deliver the very best instructional programs that we can for our students. That cannot happen with comprehensive professional development, especially by today's standards in education. Things are changing at such a tremendous rate that our teachers deserve and need the very best comprehensive professional development. And when you're a district as big as Middletown, on every level, elementary, middle school, high school, in every subject, we have so many outstanding educators. And there's so much that we can learn from each other. So that comprehensive professional development and the support that goes along with it is a real focus on our budget. Right on down to our professional development days that are built into our calendar. Review of the curriculum and special education. You'll see, I'm very proud to say, over the last 2 years, that we've been going through a phase where we're actually increasing on our personnel to address those areas, special education and program development. Focus on the identification of technology and technological needs. And in this time, again, going back to the federal and state standards, in just a very short period of time, all of our students are going to be assessed on benchmark levels online. So making sure that we have the capacity from our infrastructure to our hardware and our software, as well as to the skills of our students to be able to address that. And the prioritization of facilities, making sure that we have a commitment to the upgrade of our facilities. And the two budgets that this board and this central office team have been a part of, that's really been a focus, and we'll talk more about that. And remaining within that fiscally responsible accountability guidelines regulation of 2%, and actually we've been below that both years, less than 1% last year, and 1% is what we're moving out on a final budget with this year. And evaluation of district security, you know, and this is a time due to recent tragic events where security in school is really an issue, and it's something that the board is taking very seriously and addresses in its budget. Updates to the tentative budget. So from the time frame in which we did our last presentation to where we are right now, a couple of things that have been added to the budget is the addition of ADA improvements to the potential capital reserve projects. I think that's $100,000, yes. increase in funding of our sports which are pay to play, increase in funding of $25,000 in Middletown hockey, and for the first time in lacrosse, really the community has really embraced the lacrosse program, men's and women's in both high schools, and I think we have at least 20 students in each program at each high school, boys and girls, and the board is looking, they raised a significant amount of funds this year, and the board is looking to, to support that next year. Andy Gallagher, Business Administrator.
This slide, I know it's hard to read, and I know it's hard to read even if I hand out the numbers too small, but if you have trouble, like Dr. George said, it'll be up on the website. But this slide is meant to lay out our budgets over the last 5 years, going back to 9-10, up to the proposed budget for this year. As you can see, in the 2009-10 year, our operating budget total was approximately $144 million, $144,597. Then, as we went into the 10-11 year, that's the year where we had the large decrease in the state aid funding. We made a lot of cuts here in the district. Our budget dropped down to $138 million. Over the last few years, the 11-12 and the 12-15 year, we did get some modest increases in our state aid funding. The state gave us some of the amount that they took back to us. So we included those in our budgets. For this year, like Dr. George said, the board is proposing a tax levy increase of 1%, which is half of the amount that is allowed, the 2%. And our budget right now is $147,881,000. So over the past 5 years, these are big numbers, but we basically not exceeded very much the amount where we were at 5 years ago. The total increase in the district's operating budget between the 9-10 year and the proposed 13-14 budget that we're looking at tonight is 2.25% over the 5 years. So that's approximately 0.56 increase per year for our budget. The total increase in the tax levy, however, for the same period, including this budget that we're talking about tonight, is 5.4% or 1.35% per year. Obviously, that's larger than the amount that the budget is held up, and the reason for that is our next bullet, that our state aid was decreased by $7.2 million, or 35%, for the 10-11 year, between 9-10 and 10-11. So even with the subsequent increases that I just spoke about that we've received from the state, which have been in the last couple of years, not this year though, our state aid was flat for the 13-14 years, so this is the last 2 years. We're still down $3.5 million from the amount of state aid that we were getting with the 9-10 budget. And like I said, we got no increase for next year. The district is currently $3.1 million below what the state calculates as your adequacy level of spending. We've talked about this in prior presentations. The state comes up with a budget amount based upon your enrollment and other factors of what you could be spending for an adequate level of spending to provide the proper and complete education that these students will get. Now, we are below that amount. That doesn't mean that we're not addressing all the students' needs. It just means that we're doing it at less than what the state would project that we would be spending. So that is a good thing for us when they talk about it. You hear when they have discussions about state aid that involve giving more money to districts that are below adequacy as opposed to above adequacy. Our district is currently below adequacy. So if they have discussions along those lines, that would put us in a favorable position. Our tax levy cap history, like Dr. George mentioned before, we have been, actually not even over the last 2 years, over the last 3 years, including next year's budget, where the tax levy cap has been 2%. This district has been below that amount significantly. In 11-12, the increase in our tax levy was 1.3%, so we were $907,000 below what the maximum tax levy increase could have been. For the current year that we're in, we were approximately $1.2 million below what the tax levy increase could have been. And for next year's budget, it's another $1.2 million. So cumulatively over the last 3 years, we have been $3.4 million below what the maximum increase could have been for those 3 years. There is a concept called bank cap. So if you don't exceed or if you don't use the whole tax levy increase amount that the district could use during a year, that becomes bank cap. Our bank cap through next year's budget is actually $4.5 million, more than the 3.4, because in the 11-12 budget year, we had an adjustment that was also given to us for health benefit increases and so forth, not related to the tax levy increase. So the district right now has total banked cap of $4.5 million. Now, this is money that could potentially be used in a future budget. It does start expiring at some point. The 11-12 banked cap next year would be the last year that we would be eligible to use that for 14-15 budget, not next year, but I'm talking about the budget for next year. The other years, would expire going into the future. But that's something that the district does have and can keep in mind if we do need that for costs in a future budget. This is money that is available to the district if needed. This graph illustrates our tax levy increase history going back to 2004-05 up through our currently proposed budget for 13-14. As you can see, even if you can't see all the numbers, you can see the line slopes down dramatically. In the 2004-05 year, the tax levy increase was close to 6%. Now for the last 2 years, we've been right around 1%, so you can see it's been a trend, a downward trend over the last several years. Our budgeted revenues remain pretty constant as far as the sources of the revenues to fund our budget. 86% of our budget is funded by the local tax levy. Our state aid funds approximately 12% of our budget. At this point in time, the district's using almost 2%, we're getting almost 2% of its revenues from tax relief, which is monies that we're able to save out of a given school year and utilize in a subsequent budget. That's what is generated as excess surplus, which is also called tax relief. In this year's budget, or in next year's budget, we're using approximately $2.8 million of money we've saved from a previous budget to serve as a revenue in that budget so that it would be able to offset the amount of tax levy increase that we have. The remaining 0.1% is things like extraordinary aid that we get towards some special education expenditures, tuitions, other miscellaneous revenue that the district is able to bring in. Give to Dr. Tax. Thanks.
Okay, our curricular initiatives focus on 4 areas: professional development, curriculum and assessment, technology enhancements, and academic support. For professional development, you will see an emphasis on literacy instruction. We are looking at benchmark testing for not only language arts, but also mathematics. We have sent teachers to Columbia University for training in readers and writers workshop. We also have been doing a lot of professional development on word study and guided reading. Our professional development efforts are also for elementary teachers, middle school English and Social Studies, high school English and Social Studies, with making sense of the Common Core standards for English language arts. We have are currently in the process of an elementary language arts pilot for Journeys, our elementary literacy program, and we've been doing some math in-service for teachers for 3rd through 5th grade on Common Core. We have summer training for our new DISH program, and we will be looking at new science standards and model lessons for elementary mathematics. We are moving to an adoption of an elementary literacy program next year and a pilot of elementary mathematics. We're going to be looking at benchmark assessments and quarterly assessments for all students to help with that formative ongoing assessment of student progress in addition to the summative state test that the students take at the end of the year. Here's a list of some of our high school curricula that we are going to be updating in this current budget. We also are proposing additional advanced placement courses. We are writing district-wide quarterly assessments for mathematics, science, English, and social studies. We're going to be expanding our iPad Fuse program to all of our Algebra 1 classes and pilot the iPad Fuse program in Algebra 2. It's a big success this year, so we're going to continue with that initiative. Academic support with after-school tutoring. This year we increased it to all 17 sites, and we are planning on continuing that next year. So that is in the budget. We're expanding our summer remedial and enrichment program this coming summer. We are going to continue with our K-2 targeted reading intervention program, and we're going to continue with a lot of the family workshops that we've had last year, this year, and we're looking to add a few more next year.
Thank you. Looking at the personnel and additions, the elementary, and you can see the positions there for this budget over the last year's budget, and again this year, there's been an emphasis on increasing personnel, going back to a couple of years ago with the reductions in state aid, and we'll go over that a little bit later. We lost a significant number of certificated positions and positions overall, so we're looking to reestablish some of those positions. Speaking earlier, I spoke about PARC and the online assessments that are coming in the future, as well as technology teacher leadership in the buildings, those educational technology teaching specialists. That's what they're here to do. On the elementary level, also going back to what we said earlier, were our initiatives, technology, special education, elementary inclusion teachers, and a child study team member on the elementary level. Secondary, a focus on math, science, technology, engineering. Those are our STEM positions. That's in line with the federal government and the state government. And again, these are teacher leaders that are going to be working with students in the classroom and with teachers, and will be supporting our professional development, our ongoing professional development district-wide. To meet the needs, and we're always looking at our numbers and class sizes and meet those needs, an ongoing need for a period of time. And at Thompson has been that choral music program, which is an outstanding program, and so we're moving to a full-time position there to address that. At Bayshore, teacher, special education teacher with autism is a need there, and we're addressing that. Part-time elective teacher at Bayshore as well. On the high school level, again, special education teacher and school psychologist at South. And then some advisors for programs that are already up and running. The advisor for the DECA program, which is a business club, and Future Educators of America over at High School South. These are two clubs that are up and running. They're effective. The stipends aren't currently in the budget, haven't been in the budget in the past, but are being added now because they've established themselves, these clubs. District, I mentioned earlier, this security and security being a focus, and a security director, district-wide. Student information clerk, we now have so much more state reporting that we're responsible for, so much more student information that needs to be mined and part of information that's turned into the state. And so gone are the days where we just need attendance officers, and now there's so many forms of data and so much with student information that needs to be reported. That need is there. 8 part-time custodians for high schools to assist with the block scheduling, the lunches, just the general cleanup of the buildings during the day. So those are the personnel additions. personnel reductions in the 2010-11 budget. So that's going back to when we had that reduction in state aid and we had a lot of cuts, and you'll see that a lot of what the board, their focus has been to reestablish positions that have, that were there in the past, and you can see what's driving those needs based on unfortunate previous cuts due to state aid in the past. Personnel reductions in 2010-11 were $7.2 million reduction in state aid. During that time, 72.5 certificated positions, 20 paraprofessionals, 7 administrators, 8 facilities department positions, and 16.5 secretarial support staff positions, for a total of 124 positions. So you can see that the positions that we have prioritized and are adding back to the budget are much. Technology upgrades, I'm proud to say there's an awful lot that is going on right now from the technology standpoint. We use the majority of the additional state aid that we got last year. We're flat funded this year, but the additional state aid last year, that was a real focus, as well as that's also where we got our social behavior support specialist, which was putting back in elementary counseling support from that previous cut in 2010-11. But a lot of that increase of last year went towards that technology infrastructure to prepare us for where we need to be for Park in 2014. But even more importantly, to just be able to increase and utilize technology in real time in the classroom for our students. Just last December, just a few months ago, just last December, our bandwidth was only 40 megabytes. And now we've increased to, currently we're at 100, but when we come back from spring break, we're going to be at 500. So a significant increase. We know that there's so much more that our teachers are doing and utilizing in the classroom with technology, and we need to support that with a consistent connectivity so that they know when they go to devices in their classroom, we're going to be able to utilize them. So that's something that the board has been committed to and is well represented in this budget. And then you can see it's not just it's not just that connectivity, but it's also elementary, middle school, and high school upgrades at every level. They're represented there as well. Fiber network infrastructure. These are things that you've heard about in the past, which we're proud to say have come to fruition. Significantly increasing our speed and our fiber optic network, our speed, 100-time increase in connection speed between buildings. So that fiber optic network connected the the buildings to each other, and will allow for faster internet speed. Telephone system is something that that we're looking to do. Our telephone systems are aging, and it's going to be a priority. It's here so that you can see it. It's going to be a priority in real time for us. Security camera systems, getting back to that security theme, is something that needs to be upgraded. It's being upgraded. There's things that we have done through our security meetings. We've had security meetings with parents, staff. We've had representatives come from every building, from staff, from our parents, from our administrative team. We've talked about the strengths. We've talked about the things we've done well in individual buildings. We've always had a very strong security plan. And the police department is, for a very long time, has a history of being very supportive of the Middletown Township Public Schools and supportive to our staff, and always being a resource and always being there for us. But we've expanded upon that to now where we have video training that's done by our local police department. And we've had multiple meetings, and we've gone to trainings with the police department at the same time and sat side by side. We've listened to the concerns of our parents. We've listened to the concerns of our staff, and that's something that we're continuing to improve upon. And those security cameras are part of that. The projector mounting as part of our technology in our elementary, our middle school, and our high school classrooms has been a partnership really in Middletown between our parents' organizations and a commitment from the board. And it's something that we, the board, are committed to make sure that we get those mounted projectors in every classroom and those smart or Promethean boards and where they can be utilized, as well as other hardware. Just devices that, just so you know about how we go about the purchasing of our technology. We put staff together from every building at different grade levels to sit down with the technology staff and the administrative team, and we discuss what are the effective educational uses for this technology and how does that weigh in to what we need to do with assessment. So it's a two-pronged approach. We want to make sure that the technologies that we purchase and the hardware that we purchase are effective devices in our classrooms to utilize, to enhance as a tool instruction each and every day. But at the same time, we want to make sure those technologies are also going to be effective in the up-and-coming assessments that we need to do online. So here's just an example of some of that. And the total projected expenditure for the above is $800,000, and that's a similar figure to what we did last year in technology enhancements. Just a little bit more along those same lines of what those technology support resources, what they are, and how we're utilizing them, what some of our focus is. Recent facility improvements. In last year's budget and again in this year's budget, there really has been an emphasis to improve the facilities to make sure that we maintain that outstanding learning environment. And I know the board has committed to that because in the last two budgets we put a significant amount of money there. And here are just some of what the recent facility improvements have been, from locker and bathroom renovations to roofing projects. And just to give you an idea, prior to last year's budget, the last roofing project completed was 1997, and it was at Ocean Avenue School. So this is something that the board is committed to do on an ongoing basis. It's an effective way for us to use our surplus, our free fund balance, and to designate that into capital improvements at the end of the year, where we see exactly where we are through strong fiscal practice and fiscal management. And so that's where we are there. The planned facilities improvements to be utilized, funded through our capital reserve, which is when we place that surplus at the end of the year. In that period, from when is that, Amy? From June, in the month of June, when we have a real good handle on exactly what that extra surplus is, utilize that funding, utilize that money in real time to improve our facilities. And just to give you an idea why that's important to the board is because we want to try to avoid, wherever possible, those spikes of referendums or where we go significantly above that budget. So if we can, through prudent fiscal practice, if we can manage those funds and then reallocate those funds and repurpose it to improving our facilities, and the board has done that in the last 2 years to a tune of $8.6 million. So that's a significant commitment by this board to the improvement of our facility. Okay.
With the proposed 1% increase in the tax levy, based upon the average assessed value of a home here in Middletown, right now it's at $375,500. We have two components to the school tax bill, your general fund tax and the debt service amount. The general fund is what was previously voted on each year until the cap was put in place, and now the board can approve the budget if we stay within the cap. The general fund is the operating part of the budget. For this year, with the 1% increase, the annual increase for a home at the average assessed value of $375 is $68.90, or monthly $5.74. The second part of the tax increase component would be our debt service amount. That amount was not voted on annually. That amount was approved when prior referendums were done and bonds were issued, and that committed the taxpayers to repay those bonds. For this year, you'll actually see that there's a decrease in that amount. The board recently completed a refunding of our 2002 bonds that were issued. Basically, you can equate that to refinancing your mortgage. We were able to refund the bonds and replace them with bonds at a lower interest rate for a significant savings to the district and thus to the taxpayers. So based on that, that amount is going down $15.66 a year, or $1.30 per month. So both of those combined, the general and the debt service, bring us to an annual increase of $53.24, or monthly $4.44. I also want to point out that another thing that impacts any increase in the taxes are changes in assessed values. And for this year, the total net assessed values here in Middletown have decreased from last year. So in order to raise the same amount of funds that we did last year based on a lower net assessed value in total, that would cause an increase in itself. So the reason I'm saying that is because out of the operating increase, the $68 up top annually, approximately $21 of that is really due to the fact that the assessed values have changed and not directly attributable to increases in our budget. So, to explain it even better, even if there was no increase in the tax levy here for the schools, many people would still see an increase because of the change in the assessed values overall in town, and some, you still have to collect that same amount of revenue. So that does impact us, but these are the numbers based on the budget that we have, and I think it's very beneficial to the taxpayers that we've been able to bring down that debt service piece quite a bit. Overall, over the life of the remaining life of the bonds, the district's going to save approximately $655,000 on that transaction. We continue to pursue cost savings initiatives. There are a lot of things in place. Over the past several years, and we're always looking at new things. I just talked about the debt service refunding. That's one. We've reviewed our health insurance coverage, our broker, everything about the health insurance. Basically, we were able to obtain a different broker over the last year and a half, and we're actually getting, we feel, better service and for a lot less price. We're paying approximately $100,000 less in commission for that. We are actively marketing our health insurance coverage as we speak. We have to renew that each year. We go out competitively in the marketplace to get the best coverage for our employees at the best price, and we also look at other options such as self-insurance and things of that nature. We are a big user of cooperative purchasing. We belong to several cooperatives. We also do some joint purchasing with the town. We recently, over the past year, entered into a garbage and recycling contract with the Township, put out a joint bid. So, it makes sense that the garbage trucks and the recycling trucks traveling around town and pick up the residential and the commercial garbage and recycling with all, they picked up the school, that there would be a savings there, so we were able to go with that. We've had an energy audit done, and we're refer back to that document to do things that would save energy here in the district, things that we could do, replacement of equipment, things like that. We've introduced some paperless systems here in the district, such as employee portal, where we're now not printing all the direct deposit pay stubs, which doesn't sound like a lot, but we have over 1,000 employees. That can add up over the course of the year. We've also been able to put up the portal for the report cards and other parent correspondence. We've been able to save not just on the printing for that, but the postage as well. We also do our payroll processing in-house. Last year was the first year that we did that, so instead of paying an outside service, we run it within our own office with actually even half or less person in the department, but we're saving on those fees that we were paying for an outside service. This slide lays out, Dr. George was talking about our capital reserves and excess surplus, and this lays out over the past 5 years what we've had in excess surplus each year, and then what we've been able to put into capital reserve to use for these projects that we were speaking about earlier. Each year we are able to save money out of our budget to use for a future budget as a revenue so that it would theoretically decrease the amount you would have to ask the taxpayers for. As you can see, that number has ranged between $2.3 and $2.8 million each year. So we're continuing to look at that, and we actually, as a board, have been discussing trying to reduce our reliance on that a little bit because with that, you don't know always for sure that you're going to have that. We have, as Dr. George said, put approximately $8.6 million, $8,566,000 into our capital reserves over the last few years. During the last summer, we spent a portion of that. We went through $4 million for roofing projects that we did last summer. Those bids actually came in a little bit less than what we anticipated, so some of that money will be able to be put back into capital reserve and reused for projects that we have planned for next year, which include the roofing projects that we talked about, the pod project goes to Monmouth, and some other things like the phone system and the security cameras. These are all things that we just cannot fit within the confines of our operating budget each year with the 2% tax levy cap and all the other demands that we have to put in the budget. We also have a maintenance reserve, the district, for any emergency maintenance issues that we haven't budgeted for of a significant nature. We did actually use some of that this year when we had a leak in the geothermal system here at High School North, so instead of impacting our operating budget, we were able to take the $108,000 that we needed to make those immediate fixes out of our maintenance reserve. I started going over these are planned uses for 2013-14 of whatever monies we are going to have in capital reserve. In addition to the things I said, we also are looking at, Dr. George mentioned the ADA improvements to various buildings, $100,000, and we've been looking at the lighting system at High School South. That's estimated to be $150,000. All these projects, if we do have the funds to do them, and that's going to depend upon how the bids come in for the projects. The roofing and the pod, we are definitely committed to doing because we've already started the design on those projects, and those are in the works of being approved by the Department of Ed. And so depending upon how those bids come out and how much money we do have left in capital reserve, those are the other projects that the district would be looking to consider. They would all have to be scoped out, put out to bid before they could move forward. So these are the things that would be lined up to possibly use those funds for. And this is just a reminder, when the board votes on the budget tonight, and then the budget, if they approve the budget, it becomes final. At that point, we don't no longer do the April budget vote. A reminder that the school board candidates still do run for election, and that will be Tuesday, November 5th. That's the general election day. And our website will have this presentation. There's other information about there on the budget. We have a newsletter. The user-friendly budget will be up there as well. So we encourage you all to participate. If you haven't seen it on the website, it's good to do.
High school, Middletown High School North Television Production students. Guys, if you could just introduce yourself again.
I'm Chris.
Chris? What year, Chris?
I'm a senior.
Senior. And Jake, Chris and Jake, and thank you to the Middletown North Television Production for coming and for filming. And this is going to be available thanks to our students on our website. So thank you very much.
comment just on the budget.
Hi, my name is Kathy Bailey, and I'm a parent of a fourth grader at Monmouth Elementary School. And I want to discuss the loss of a nurse at Monmouth Elementary School for September when nurse has her visit tomorrow. I am a parent of a son with a chronic health issue that sends him to the nurse daily, 2 times minimum, sometimes more, for a minimum of 5 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes a day. I've been involved in the school for many, many years, volunteering, chairing committees, being a class parent, and I've been in the office, in the nurse's office, incredibly incredible. There needs to be serious thought in replacing her. Excuse me. I've, over the years, I've also been in the school at different times where 2 teachers on 2 different occasions passed out and needed medical intervention. We also had a father at a child study meeting who had a low blood sugar and needed nurse intervention. So that, in addition to the school population, the medical, the children with special needs, the mainstream population, I think that we would hate to see in the future something happening to a staff member, a parent, a volunteer, or a child. So we want you to seriously consider not losing that position. And with that being said, we have a couple of questions that we would like to ask as some parents who are here with me. We want to know why the PTA in Monmouth was not notified and consulted about the kind of service.
Well, let me just say, first of all, this was not done without a lot of consideration. So we looked at total population of all of our schools, but of New Monmouth, total special education population, number of paraprofessionals, one-on-one aides, number of health visits. We looked at a number of data points to make sure that the equity of that was consistent with what we're doing across the district. And so it was an administrative decision to reallocate those fundings, which you can see that there's a lot of other things that we're doing to assist special needs students across the district. And we felt, and it was reviewed with the Board of Education, but the administrative team, both central office and special education, as well as discussing that with the Board of Education at Personnel Committee, and through our committee process, and then through our budget meetings, that the nursing services, looking at all those data points, that it was not equitable with programs across the district. Again, based on total population, special education population, number of one-on-one paraprofessionals. We even looked at health office visits and compared them. So this wasn't undertaken lightly. It was, we don't normally in a $150 million budget discuss personnel line items or any single line item with the PTO, but we do discuss the overall budget. We did discuss that.
Can we see the data? Where is the data that you're using to justify paying rent? And can we see that?
Yeah, well, as far as where is the data, I have the data. I can share data. I can share the data. Yeah, we can share the data.
And also, was the Monmouth principal consulted about this prior to it being made, and did he agree with the cut, or did he voice his opinion?
He was consulted. He was consulted.
And did he agree with the cut, or did he not agree with the cut? Were either of the nurses consulted? And did they agree or not?
Difficulty that Dr. George has with answering that is that it's inappropriate to put any individual staff member on the spot like that. I'm sorry, I know that's frustrating.
Okay. Can we ask who came up with the idea to have position?
It's my recommendation. Anything that's brought to the board is my recommendation. It was done with consultation with the the administrative team. But
Did any of
it's
the
my
administrative
recommendation.
team visit the nurse's office and spend time with them, observing, checking to see how busy the nurse's office is, what the traffic is?
We
prior to
reviewed those
that?
data points to make sure that we had a good handle on that, yes.
You reviewed points, but did anybody
Yeah, they-
actually physically go in and visit?
We visit the schools on a monthly basis. So we do visitations to the school, and we review data points that made sure that we were being equitable across the district. And we will share those data.
So basically, they were non-medically licensed people who made the determination.
The recommendation
To have a
came
medical
from
position.
me as the superintendent. Consistent with programs offered across the district.
Well, I can tell you that a lot of parents are very
For
concerned.
example, just to give you an example, to make it super tangible for everybody in the room. Harmony School has a couple more special education students and about 70 more total students, and has one nurse.
Okay, but their special needs students are very different from our special needs students.
Right.
So you're comparing apples to oranges, not apples to apples. So that.
Well, the data points make it more apples to apples.
Well, I guess-
Because the assumption that you're making is that, that the students in other schools, whether that be Thorne Middle School or Harmony Elementary School or Bayview Elementary School, which also have significant special education populations, that those students don't have the same or equal to or maybe even more medical necessities.
Well, New Monmouth School's had two nurses for 24 years. So I guess we're concerned as to why now the cut has been made when we know that they have a very busy nurse's office. And my son's part of an age-group population that has a health consideration that needs to be addressed, just as every other child in the school. So I think that we would like to see this position put back to the assembly, and I know that there are some other people that feel quite a bit concerned of the parents that don't feel the same way, but unfortunately, we only found out about this within the last several days. So we're not trying to get a lot of support.
Thank you for your concern, and we'll share that information. Make that available.
Hi, Terry Antown. I'm the co-leader of the Middletown Township Friends for Different Learners Group. And I'm also here to speak about the nurse position at the Monmouth School. We had a meeting last Wednesday, and I was not aware of the position not being filled. It was brought up by one of the parents that attended the last board meeting. And there were several parents there, and one of them planned to be here tonight, and unfortunately she can't leave. My two children went through the Monmouth School, and when you say apples to apples and apples to oranges, we're talking about a population of children with a lot of needs, and maybe more significant needs than there are at Harmony School. So when you count the numbers don't really tell the story. And one of the parents actually had a child who was slated to go to Harmony School and actually was transferred to Monmouth School because she needed to have the additional nursing. And that parent has a child who 3 weeks ago had grand mal seizure. And it took both nurses to deal with the situation. So can I ask you how many children are in Monmouth School with special needs? Do you have an idea of how many there were? When my kids were there were 108.
There's 108 there right now.
108.
But again, you have to remember, the Monmouth School is also a receiving school. So certain students that are currently there this year will not be there next year. So even those with severe medical needs may not be there next year.
I'm aware of that, but just in general, they have the self-contained classes. I'm really concerned too that you have someone who might be giving medication to students. And do we want to have one overstressed nurse giving medication? From my understanding, there's a lot of self-contained autistic classes at New Monmouth School. These students require more care than a lot of the other students in the district. There were some examples. So, so I just wanted to say, you know, there are many parents out there. We've received some emails, very concerned about this. And we hope to see, you know, when you say you're concerned about the safety, we're getting security, we're concerned about the physical safety of these children. So,
Thank you. And we are too. We are too. And to that point, we have even looked at some of those medically fragile students that are in the building now that aren't going to be there next year. And that's the point that Mr. Dunn was making.
They're there to share.
All right. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Please state your name.
Dawn DiOrio, for the record. Yes, I am, sir. I know you all received an email from me last week, along with many other parents from high school south. I'm here this evening to talk to you a little bit more about the project that we have under the capital reserves. Your capital reserve uses plan for 2013-14. In particular, the update and replacement of lighting system at high school south. First, Dr. George and Mr. Bragg, I'd like to thank you for replying to the parents that were explaining exactly what it means to have a project in the capital reserve. Mr. Zonley, I would like to thank you for throwing out your support for this project. If we do have and it hinted that this would be a project that you too would support if you had that. I appreciate that.
As a board, we evaluate all our facility issues. We take them on a priority basis. We've seen this since 2010. You know, we try to be fiscally responsible, coming in budget to 1%, and we put in $3.6 million in this capital project. Prior to that, like this year before, increases on the budget were capital on the operating side were over 4%. And for some reason, there was not that much money, or if any money, toward capital projects. So we're kind of playing capital, and we do the best we can to show our love.
Absolutely.
And we will address them as they come up.
Yeah, and I exactly, and it's in this proposed budget, because the building administration felt that we were going to have this upgrade. It was report to the board, published by Dr. George and Gallagher, because they felt it was important to be put forth. I'm just asking for a commitment, if nothing, if something, you know, if it happens, or just a location or heating issue, when those funds aren't available, I understand. But if that doesn't happen, can we get your commitment that this lighting system will be replaced? Because it does add value to the program at high school south. If we're talking about capital improvements, I'm sure Mr. Cody is well aware, and some, actually a parent from, that has a student in the band wrote to you, and she said that that section of high school south is considered the forgotten section of high school south. So I hope you are aware of the facility issue that needs to be addressed there. And this is just a small token to show the students and the parents that are very much involved in the theater and in the arts program that they matter. Okay? That's $150,000. And what caused me to send this email is because at a district meeting, a representative from a school not south, doesn't have any children at south, questioned that specific point. That $150,000 of $150 million budget, that was questioned. I'm coming to the board to say, please, when you're looking at these things, look at how it affects the programs. This will add value to those programs. Okay? And I'm sure you've got a number of letters, because many of the parents sent me some of the letters of conversation. And I can imagine there were more. It's an important issue, and I'm asking for your commitment that if there is money in the reserve, this is taken, this seriously and implemented. I know, you can sharpen your pencils, you're doing a great job, I know you can, I know there will be money in that account. Just, okay, that's what we're looking for.
Mr. Dury, I just want to assure you that that lighting system is the same lighting system that I performed at 10 plus years ago as a student. And that if the lighting system is possible, it'll have every consideration. I think it's important.
Exactly, and why, exactly, and I'm happy to see that. It was just someone questioning that particular item that led me to send the email and to also inform the parents over at High School South. And say, listen, I think the board needs to hear from you guys because this is ridiculous.
I wasn't actually. Mr. Fiore, in your facility. One, I did receive your email, Dr. George, I wrote back to you, so I didn't respond. The same guy. But one of the things I gotta tell you is on the facilities, if you know on the budget time, we fought to keep that in on the facility of the county. Hope to find money. And with that being said, there's other things we're looking into, the lighting programs, that might fall into state aid type of situation, but did fight to keep that in there on the facility, so we're doing that.
But again, like I said, it's a small step to improving that section of the building because a lot of work does need to be done there. It has to do with the management programs and quite frankly, being equitable for both schools to afford their students the same kind of facilities. On another matter that was brought up that just caught my attention, I'm very happy that you're giving Hockey Middletown, is it another additional $1,000? What percentage of the funds provided by the district are funding Hockey Middletown?
You mean how much of the?
What percentage is the district now giving?
Well, it's 80,000 total now.
For next year will be 80,000 total, and I believe their total budget for this year was 127,000. I don't quote me exactly, it's 120.
So is
what's the
it
percentage?
the board's intention to, at some point, fully fund Hockey Middletown? I think that should be.
It's our intention to fully fund all sports if we can.
Okay, I think that's.
But, you know, it's done on the funds are available.
And then I'll just, very excited about all the technology improvements, the amount of money being spent on technology. You can tell Jay, I'm asking, are we hiring another Jay and Tia to make sure all of these initiatives are successful as we hope they are because like, I see you had like 6 elementary teacher specialists, but this is, I think, more. I don't know, is that under consideration?
Not at this time. Not in this time.
Let Jay know that I'm trying.
We know we could always use additional.
Another Jay. Thank you.
I don't know if there's another J.
Hi, Karen, hi. First of all, I'd like to applaud that you're expanding the Corman program in the summer social skills program, the middle and high school. Parents are really happy with that because it's a great program. And then I have a question. Looking at all of the professional development, I'm wondering what's going to be like for paraprofessionals. You know, we were told that they were going to attend the same teaching, the same professional development as the teachers, so that they would be able to help almost as instructional aides in the classroom And then I heard that they were not invited to attend the professional development at the high school. So are we going to continue doing professional development?
Yeah, actually, it's contractual. It's part of our last contract, so, with the paraprofessionals, that it is a focus, that it is an emphasis, and that it is developed through the building level administrators as well as input through special education department. So, Mr. Dunn or
I have
Mr.
a
Covert, it's
committee
the director of
with
personnel.
paraprofessionals that was set up through the Mike Hershio when we get back to break. Our focus this year is to get all the paraprofessionals trained in restraint training that's going to last for 3 years. They get retrained on the 4th year. And then moving forward with the contract, they have 12 hours every year. So we're going to use the majority of the paraprofessionals this year. We use that 12 hours to get restraint training. And then the next 3 years, we're going to have 12 hours each year that's going to be specific to their assignment. I know in, I want to say Port Monmouth, we had New Monmouth, had a fee specific to that one classroom. So moving forward, it's going to be framed with the paraprofessionals and Bob, Mr. Dunn and his team and myself. And we're going to get input from the paraprofessionals on what specific academic trainings are needed for each program. With the overall blanket that the restraint training, the majority are going to use their 12 hours a year for that.
And another question is, are the teachers at any time trained to know how to utilize their parents? Because from what I hear, a lot of the teachers aren't really.
We haven't done any training in that regard, but we can do that in the future.
Yeah, we would like to
That
see
would be something that once you get the restraint training, that would be the next emphasis as far as getting linked as like a almost like a co-teaching or a co-paraprofessional model.
Also, I'd just like to add, all of our after-school workshops and master teacher innovation labs that run regularly throughout the year, paraprofessionals, student teachers, substitute teachers, they're all welcome. They're all educating their children, and they're all open to all these stuff.
Okay, there must have been a disconnect because they were not all on themselves for that training. So it might be a communication issue.
You have something to add?
Well, I'm aware of this. I had communication with High School South, and the nature of the professional development was student sensitive. That we're going to be talking about specific students, and that paraprofessional we spoke to them, and we said in the future something like that would be, we are going to work to get them in there. They may have to remove themselves if there's confidential things being discussed, because that was in a special education, I believe it was a PLC, if I'm not mistaken. And the reason for that, what they were talking about, that the administration was not comfortable at that point to allow it. They just needed time to reframe it. So moving forward, I believe the paraprofessionals will be included in those types of professional development.
Because my understanding is they do want to be trained.
Yes.
And if there's something that maybe that might not be as appropriate for them, it'd be great if we had something.
And well, exactly, and that's when we're meeting in 2 weeks. That's a lot of stuff. That's what we're going to frame with Mr. Dunn and his team, and the team. I think I have 14 or 15 paraprofessionals from each level and each category coming in, and that's what we're going to start hashing out.
Okay, thanks.
I also thought that we said to the paras, we're going to give 12 hours of mandatory training, but if they wanted to take more on their own, that they were more than welcome. So I would hope, like in the future, PLC days, because that's the best time to get them their training, that they're invited to some of these, and unless it's child sensitive, but there's got to be a lot of professional development that they could be welcomed into, especially if they want to do it on their own time.
And I think that's our overall goal, is to have that. And the situation at South came up, and we're going to rectify that, because we want them, as Ms. Pena was saying, we want them in there, we want them trained, because that's our vision, is to have them side by side with the teachers and working.
Yeah, because we were under the understanding that they were getting the same training as the teachers, so they'd be on the same page in the classroom, which sounds great.
And I think that, I believe you're going to have that. It's going to take, we're going to frame it, get the restraint training. I think you're going to have it next year. you're gonna start seeing what your vision is, what our vision is, you're gonna start seeing.
Okay, great, thank you.
I'm just going to ask someone that if we would please use the microphone, because some people are having difficulty hearing us. So on my journey back through, I was asked if you would please use the mics.
Exciting, but I don't have a pen here. Everyone have a good evening. Bob Anson, son at High School North, resident of Belford, west side. Let you know where we're at. Thank you for the return of the pen. First of all, good evening, everybody. I wasn't even planning on coming out to talk until I heard some of the agenda items that people were talking about tonight. I just want to throw out food for thought with regards to stuff like enhancing lighting that's needed over at South. Please, when you're looking at items like that, think of it not only as stuff that we need to enrich our arts programs and the experience for our students, but let's also try to think that an investment of that type, when we're afforded the opportunity to do that, is investing in our opportunity to raise funds for the district. If administration could look at the policies that they have, the regulations with regarding how those facilities are used, specifically the auditoriums and stuff for play productions and stuff like that. Quite frankly, if we were to put $150,000 out to put lights in a facility that one in 30 dance schools in the area would spend a minimum of $10,000 for one weekend to have a dance competition at. Well, in 15 weekends, spread out over times when the schools are closed, you've already raised $150,000 and it's paid for itself. So just keep in mind that sometimes not only should we be looking at where we're saving money or what we're doing with the tax levies we're getting, but we can also look forward to raising those funds within if we look at how we have those facilities available and utilize it to make money. And they themselves can generate the funds to upgrade their own enhancements. That's number one. Number two, I know that it's with much reflection, a lot of looking at data, and I'm sure with regards to serious cuts that you're looking at with like the nurses in our school at New Monmouth and stuff, I'm sure it's with much compassion that you're looking at those numbers as well. You know, I fully feel there's not anybody up here that just black and white says dollars and cents, you know, we need to make this choice. Those are hard choices to make. Perhaps my question to the board would be, if at a time you're at a crossroads on those items where it's on the border of makes sense, doesn't make sense. If we're looking at projecting a excess of $4 million that we're going to have on hold and moving forward, and we need to allocate those funds on I think Mrs. Gallagher was saying on a 2-year basis or at points they expire or something like that. Like I remember, I think just a couple months ago.
You're talking about the bank's tax levy cap.
Right, the tax levy cap. Right, those are excess funds or something that we.
No, they're not excess funds. Those are amounts that the budget did not go up compared to what the maximum could be. They're not funds. They're not excess funds. They're funds between the 2% cap and what their actual tax.
Okay, so it's not a projected excess, like let me just give back like $6 million or something recently in tax. It was something in the last couple months with regards to tax relief, something or
we haven't given back. We've put money in reserves as we have a budget presentation.
Well, my question was going to be just to think that rather than if there's reserves that we're building, if it's actual reserves, I don't know, maybe I could be totally confused on this issue, but if it's reserves that we have, look to those reserves to err on the side of keeping somebody one more year and make sure we have the coverage that we need. I'm sure those are things you are considering, but like, you know, I would rather make sure that we're erring on the side of children when it's close on those calls. And again, I'm sure you probably are doing that, but it just seems to me for probably what we're paying the nurse, if we're, you know, potentially have an excess that we may project. And yeah, I could be looking at that wrong, completely. But like, you know, rather than have a reserve and look at what a reserve would be, I'd like to make sure those dollars are spent where the children have the needs.
event, I don't believe it would be bank cap. Teacher or a nurse or student. But I believe the board can, if they saw the administration saw a need and want to reallocate some funds, and there was an additional need for nurses.
But he also pays capital reserve and the highest personnel, that can't be used for personnel.
I just want to say one thing, Bob. In my observation of it, I do not believe that the recommendation was made, of dollars and cents. I think the recommendation was made to take care of our children first. I don't believe this was a, cut to save money. I'm not saying that you're saying.
Right, that's not what I'm.
My experience with the administrative team has had great care, and it really analyzes the approach in the situation of what do we need? And I'm very comfortable with recommendations. This wasn't made on dollars. That's just my observation.
Great. Well, thank you, because that's, again, from the outside, not knowing, what's going on with that. And the other thing I do want to thank the administration. A couple times, for a couple months in a row, I came up asking for administration to review the regulation with regards to the turf fields, and the board had opened the access to the turf fields to everybody. And I asked a couple times that they look at that and not only discussing the budget, Okay, I just wanted to thank them for re-reviewing that and revisiting it as well. Thank you. And I'm going to sign it now.
Thanks, Bob.
Anyone else for comment on the budget?
I'm sorry, could you state that?
Allison Sacher. I have a second grader, a kindergarten, and a preschooler. My second grader also has a chronic health issue, and he visits the nurse at least 3 times a day. My 2 younger sons have gone through the preschool program, so I've seen all the students. And saying special needs, it doesn't equate to students that have medical needs. They're two completely different things. So you can look at numbers and say they're the same, but they're not. Having students that have language disabilities and are learning delay is completely different from having students that have medical needs that can die in school. But those nurses are not there, and they're attending to another person. I just wanted to make sure that was said. And I just completely hope from the bottom of my heart that it's not the dollars and cents decision. That you're completely thinking about the children, and little 3- and 4-year-old children that have serious medical conditions. That we are trusted is putting the nurses, that's our responsibility. And for one person to do that themselves, it's a big undertaking.
Anyone else for comment on the budget? Stacy, no one else for Mike, let's close the public portion of the comment on the budget. Okay, at this time, we're going to read the resolution. I need a motion to approve final proposed 2013-2014 school district budget. Be resolved to approve the final proposed 2013-2014 school district budget using the 2013-2014 state aid figures and the Secretary of the Board of Education be authorized to submit the following final budget to the Executive County Superintendent of Schools for approval in accordance with the statutory deadline. General Fund, $154,381,078. General Fund Tax Credit, $126,254,312. Special Revenue Fund, no tax credit. $4,638,540. Debt service, $5,101,922. Debt service tax levy, $3,677,710. Be it resolved in accordance with the NJAC 6A:23B-12B, the maximum expenditure for travel for the 2013-14 school year is $100,000. And to advertise said final budget in the Asbury Public Press in accordance with the form suggested by the State Department of Education and according to law.
So moved.
Second. Discussion.
I would like to relook at the nurse. I'm not comfortable. We have a right to relook at the budget before we vote on it. And I really want to make sure that, we're doing the right thing here. I mean, I know New Monmouth School, I was okay with it with the data that we were giving, but wait, I don't know.
I think what was told to us, and listening to what I'm hearing, I think that we have to look at, what was told to us, I think, remember, the word an equity thing being used, because only had one nurse and the same amount of special ed students, and the Monmouth had the same numbers, and to keep things equitable across the district in a certain way. Well, after listening to the parents, one parent made a very good point when she heard about the medical needs. Sometimes it's not special ed and it's not special needs, it's medical needs, and that's really very important. Besides that, I think there's a few other things that need to be looked at on this budget, so I'm not happy with this.
She was on the zoning board.
Can we make a motion to go back into closed session? I do hear the disgruntles in the back, but this to us is a serious issue. We want to make sure we're doing the right thing.
Third budget presentation. Motion to go back into executive session for purposes of budget discussion. It would have to be specifically with regard to negotiations of personnel issues, meaning specific people. If you want to talk about the need for the nurse at New Monmouth School, that's a public discussion. It is based on administrative recommendation, it's based on staffing needs and medical needs determined by your administrators, but it can certainly be discussed, but it has to be discussed publicly. So, go ahead.
Well, besides the nurses, you know what? I think with knowing other things that are coming down the pipe for us, that we're going to be told about. I like to see technology, the technology, 6 people that we put in that are going to be shared between 12 elementary schools. So maybe we should consider putting in 3 or 4 more technology people in there, because I think that's something important. I think that's what our elementary parents are looking for in their elementary schools. So if we're not talking people, and we're just talking positions, these are the things I'd like to see done to the budget. If it isn't changed, I hate to say this, because I take this very seriously. I've been on the board, I've been voting for budgets for years. I'm not voting for this budget.
Okay, well, that's your prerogative as a
Yes.
board member, and I respect you for it, but we did have 4 separate budget discussions.
Not
Amongst
discussions,
the-
Chris, not
well,
discussions.
amongst the board,
You tried.
and nobody ever brought up the 3 additional teacher specialists up until, that I'm aware of.
No,
And the
because
school
it-
nursing thing didn't come up until recently either.
Because we
Now,
only
let
have-
me finish. If there is a need for additional school nursing in New Monmouth, I'm all in favor of it. That recommendation will come from Dr. George and the administration. And I just clarified with Mrs. Gallagher that if there is a need for it, we see a need for it, we can reallocate the funds to hire it. And the same thing I would assume goes for the computer technology technicians, teachers, specialists, whatever.
There is latitude each year, to manage your budget, to address things that you may not have anticipated. Those would be in line.
That's all. No, again, Mrs. Gallagher.
No, there's a lot of things that are coming down that are not going to be anticipated.
What's changing for me is the topic that just came up about a donation to a field. And truthfully, when you look at the amount of money that we're saying we're gonna donate to a field, I have a whole list of things right here I'd rather put in our budget right now. And because we haven't had the discussion on the field yet, the public has no idea what we're talking about. But in my mind, and maybe in Leonora's mind, it does affect what we could possibly put back in the budget.
And by
moving money around.
no means does it mean that I don't want the fields. Because when the fields were proposed to us, they were proposed to us without a
Just to
donation.
clarify for the public, there is an addendum to the budget tonight.
Not to the budget.
I mean, to the agenda, there's a proposed addition, which is going to be proposed shared services agreement with the township regarding fields.
Where is that?
Can I weigh in here for a minute?
It's not on your agenda. It's not discussed.
So in my mind, if I have to sit here and debate where I want to put money, I think I could add a few things to the budget and put them in the schools and put them in the classrooms and fix some of the schools. Yeah, it just really puts us in a bad spot, sitting here having to vote for a budget, knowing that after we vote for it, we're gonna go inside, we're gonna talk about this field thing. Either we're gonna come out, we're gonna vote for a very large amount of money, or we're not. We don't know which way it's going, and we can't really make our recommendations now. If we knew last week when we had this budget discussion that this large amount of money was gonna be put in front of us as a choice, Chris, we could have discussed maybe moving money around and putting these positions into this budget. But we didn't know.
We didn't get the agreement.
And I agree, and that's the problem. We got it on Monday, now we're being asked to vote on a budget that could go either way. I mean, maybe we could move money around and put positions back in. And maybe we could still make some kind of a donation to a field, but it's kind of like coming backwards for me. I had a really hard time about this. I didn't come to closed session on time. I'm having a really hard time all night long, sitting up thinking, how do we adjust this? Because we're on the Board of Education and we're supposed to be looking at our buildings and our curriculum and our books. And yes, co-curricular is very important to me. I go to a lot of events. But there's so many things that need to be done. And this coming on the back burner, it just makes it very hard for us. And maybe it doesn't make it hard for everybody else, but it's making it hard for me. I've never voted no on a budget in my entire creation, but not knowing, everybody not knowing what's going on, why we're voting on a budget and what we could put in and put back out, and maybe we can't do any of it. It's the unknown. It's just not right.
We as a board agreed to go to 1%.
That's right.
Charge the administration with getting us a budget with the best recommendations in their opinion to get us to that 1%. That was the full consensus of the full board, and that's where we are today.
Mr. Wizard, it's also true that while this conversation, everyone's making valid points, keep in mind that the total number is not up for discussion tonight. You said that when you submitted the budget. So you are not discussing serious additions or subtractions, or any additions or subtractions to the aggregate budget that you are asking the taxpayers to fund.
Right, but point is, if there's so much excess money in this year's budget, maybe there are things that are in this budget that could come out and take care of the lighting at High School South, take care of the phone system for $500,000, and then that money can go back in, stay in our budget, and we can reinvent positions. Money can be moved around, and maybe I'm wrong, but you know what? Capital improvements for the lighting system, if we have so much money, why not take the money now and do it and have it done by the end of the year? Why not do the phone system?
It's not in our capital reserve plan.
But it's about moving money around out of this budget for the money we have left over for this year, taking care of those budget issues, and then freeing up money in the budget to put in the positions that we want. We didn't have that.
I have to weigh in here for a minute, because I think it is very important that we remember that the budget was not thrown together willy-nilly. We hired a superintendent of schools who, in my opinion, is simply one of the best in the business, if not the best in the business. I have spent a great deal of time with Dr. George. This nurse decision did not come down to money. None of the decisions that I've seen Dr. George make were made over money. There's always a financial component to any decision that a superintendent makes, but I can tell you that having spent time around Dr. George, he's not working in education. The man is education. I've called him at 11 o'clock at night, and he's returned my calls. I've called him on Sundays, he's returned my calls. He works tirelessly, and I might add, as does Amy Gallagher, and every member of our school system. I've been in the schools for a readathon. I've seen our teachers, dedicated, hardworking individuals. The budget is a creation of an administrative team that is looking to give the very best to the students of Middletown, to move our system, not forward a little bit, but forward in great leaps and bounds. That budget presentation you saw tonight, 6 computer specialists added to our elementary schools. Would we like 12? Yes. But we also had a board that wanted to come in at a 1% increase. And you cannot have your cake and eat it too. We have an unbelievable dedication to our children. We are buying a brand new language arts curriculum for our K through 5. We have professional development built in. We have changed our school schedule to incorporate meaningful professional development. Are we talking about making an investment in our students? Yes, we are. Are we talking about potentially making an investment that we can get fields? Yes, we are. And on a night where student recognition included scholar athletes, the percentage of money that we're talking about as a one-time investment in our fields is 1/7 of 1% of our budget. And on a night when this board stood and clapped and applauded for every scholar athlete that walked up here and received recognition, it is almost ironic to me that we would carp or complain or worry about a minuscule one-time investment in a program that has yielded us no Sean Moreno, state championships, scholar athletes every single year. I will also take exception with the notion that this is being thrown out at the last minute. Mrs. Minuis, I called you not once, not twice, but several times to discuss with you, as a shared services member, the financial component of this field initiative. And you did not return one call. This has been a 2-year work in progress. And I will also tell you this. We must make a commitment, not just to our minds, which we have seen tonight in that presentation, but to our bodies. Because in the 21st century, education isn't just books. Co-curricular is an enormous component. These students came up here today that received those accolades are scholar athletes, and their advancement into secondary education at the college level is afforded by better facilities. And I will make one final point. This budget was discussed thoroughly. Amy Gallagher, Dr. George, every member of this administrative team answered every one of our questions. We never waited for information. We were explained at every single turn. We had this information given to us. We as Board of Ed members are not trained educators. I, for one, want to put my faith in the administrative team that I hired less than 2 years ago to bring our schools into the forefront of education. And that involves the mind and the body. And I think our presentation tonight shows that. And this board should support our administrators.
I'm looking for my cell phone, Mr. Brand, because you can have it and everybody in the public can. You called me once. You called me once, but never mind that. I'll put my cell phone. Wait. Here's my thing. Here's my thing. Nobody here is saying that this was done for dollars and cents. My concern, and I'm going to speak for myself, my concern is we found $339,000 for the Journey program. I think that's great. I think that's great. We found that out of this year's budget. We transferred $558,000 into the power account, which everybody told me all year long that we were not over budgeted in. And last month, when we transferred the $1 million so, we were $558,000 over on the budget power thing. My point is we're finding this money, and now we're going to find a large number to donate for fields. Why can't we find things to take out of this budget and buy with the money that's left over now and put more positions in. Nobody is discrediting anybody. We want more for the kids too. We want to get the best we can. Some of our buildings are in such disarray that our kids are sitting in them and they desperately need repairs. And yes, I know, we need a referendum to do that. But we really should be doing that in November, along with if we want to put money towards fields, we should be putting that on a separate question for the public too. But going to the budget, we're just saying, we're finding all this money now, and we just heard tonight that there's that large amount of money. Why can't we revisit this budget and put more positions in for the kids? More things for the kids. We are doing a great job, Vinny. We have done marvelous things over the last few years. But we still have a lot to go. And if we do have this money, let's use it.
Joan, I gotta say something on that. I gotta just say something on that, Joan, because I'm on the finance committee, and so is Chris. We didn't find anybody. All it was that money that was taken from one power account, because we had 10 of them. We narrowed it down to maybe 5, so we have control of it, and we moved it over.
But we took it out of electricity, Mr. Cody, $558,000 out of electricity.
However, Mrs. Lyon, as you are aware, the budget is set. We're setting budget tonight for all of next year. The budget begins, or the actual spending of money begins on July 1st. It is a daunting task to spend $150 million and not have overages, underages, money that need to be moved around, because the expectation, or your best plans rather, aren't going to come out just as you see them. There's going to be retirements of teachers and create breakage. There's going to be losses in our facility that we need to address. It's a moving puzzle. We're not finding money. We have money left over in our energy account. We had a very soft winter this year. Next year we might have a hard winter. Setting a budget is a daunting task. And I, for one, think that Andy Gallagher has done a phenomenal job. And in terms of investing in our children, you say you want more for the kids. The fields are for the kids, and they're not just for the kids. Those fields impact on 10,000 students and 40,000 residents of Middletown. Because those fields are open for senior citizens in Shadow Lake who pay their taxes, who no longer have students in the school system. They can go to those tracks and they can run. Those new fields address special needs students who might not be able to run the track at Thompson because it's a stone track and it's in disrepair. A new facility addresses them as well. This finding money and acting as if we don't know, that's just not accurate. It's not an accurate portrayal of how this occurs.
Maybe I'm using the wrong word to finding money. There is extra money. And there is, and maybe it's because of good spending and good oversight. What I'm saying, and I think you're missing my point, is that if we have this money, let's do it. Do you realize that all of our kids are going to be taking tests on parts next year on computers, right? We're putting in these computer teachers, which they're really not going to have much time to teach if you look at what they're doing. And I think Mrs. Cavarda did a good job of pointing that out last month. If we put one in every school, Vinny, these kids will have somebody to teach them the computers to be able to take these tests, and we'll have good test scores. That's all I'm saying. I don't even want to talk about the fields now. I'm talking about this money that we have. We can reallocate it and do more. We could do more.
You also have
That's
to know
what
this.
I'm saying.
When Bob Banter approached the microphone already and spoke about a lighting system that could generate money, 3 weeks ago, I went to East Brunswick for a dance competition. East Brunswick, a blue ribbon school district with unbelievable facilities. And there's a dance studio, several of them, paying the district of East Brunswick in spades to hold their dance at that district. That district is making money on its facilities. We talk about an investment in our co-curricular, which means fields. Just so that everyone's aware of this is not us paying for a field. This board said 4 months ago or 5 months ago that we wanted new, improved, and meaningful collaboration with the township. This is a shared services agreement for our one-time investment of $250,000. The Township of Middletown will invest in your schools $1.5 million additional funds. There is no other purchase we can make with $250,000. that will give us an additional 1.5 million. There is none. And if there was one, we would jump on that every single time. And finally, if we build our field and we make them right, not only will we enable our students to progress in their given or their chosen athletic endeavor, but we will be able to hold tournaments. Old Bridge School District makes hundreds of thousands of dollars on a field complex that we built. They put that money into their general education budget. When you build something, they will come. And this investment will actually turn into a revenue stream for our district. So that maybe we can buy 12 computers.
Thank you. At this time, I just want to continue, because we'll get into the shared service, shared service agreement. I just want to hear if there's any other comment on the budget from the board members before we proceed.
This is the time to talk about nurses. We've heard a lot of data, and I've seen a lot of stuff. The only thing the missing piece of the puzzle for me is what the nurses have to say. So I kind of like to hear them.
Okay, I'm the retired nurse. My name is Esther Lynn Sifrich.
Ms. Sipridge, I just want to say, you already disclosed public question, but I'm going to get
Okay, I am a school nurse until June 30th at Monmouth School. I have been in Middletown for 28 years as a school nurse. I was at Bayview, I was at River Plaza. John was one of my students at Monmouth School. For 24 years, there has been 2 nurses at Monmouth School. When I arrived there 23 years ago, there were 3 preschool classes. And we had a second nurse, and we had 1 student with autism. Today, we have 9 autistic classes, and we have 2 preschool classes, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. So if you want to say 4 classes, I'm telling you 4 classes. I invite any one of you to come in and spend a day with me in the health office. Every morning I come in there, I have a plan, and by 9:09, it has changed completely. You saw 2 of my lovely parents come up here. I have worked very closely with their children. I'm not going to pronounce your name right, Mrs. Antonio mentioned that about a parent whose child had seizures. She has ongoing seizures. And yes, Mr. Dunn, she will be moving on to another school next year. But you have to understand the beauty of New Monmouth School. We have different students coming in all the time. We have different things going on all the time. I think all of you are well aware of the nurse that I work with, Eileen Gavin, was there when a custodian went down and she saved his life. September, as I have given my goodbye gift to New Monmouth School. I am training any para, any teacher, any secretary, CPR. We now have over 41 people at New Monmouth School who are CPR certified. You never know what is going on. Due to confidentiality, I cannot tell you all the things that are going on or all the diagnoses. But I can promise you, I am busy every single day.
Any more comment from the board on the budget?
Yeah, I just want to read my list of things that I think we could put in there if we move money around. I noticed in reading the principal's request that they all put in for special teachers because our special classes are so large, and I know that, Dr. George, you said we're working on it. We're going to try to keep it down. But if we have money and we can do that, that's an area we could put money. The nurse, I really would like to see the nurse put back in. I'd like to see more computer teachers. I'd like to see us take some of that, take the lighting out of the capital budget, buy the lighting now, and I'd like to see us put some money in there to take one big building project that we know we need to do and put that in there, because there's buildings that we have had a list. I have a list that Actually, Dawn and I went on in 2004, and I brought it tonight, and there's still things on that that aren't done, that we went through. Put that money into capital reserve and do a building project. Add more services to special ed, because we're constantly being taken to task in legal bills for services that we can't provide. I mean, and I would like to see the phone system come out and be done now out of capital improvements too. Free up our capital improvement money to fix our buildings. We have the money, we could do the lights right now. These are some of the things I'd like to see, and this all came to me because of the donation that we're talking about. I think if we, I really think we could fit some of this stuff in there if we move things around.
Joan, I just want to point out, and I understand, but to me, and it's going to sound wrong, I can't make it sound right, your wish list lacks analysis. You, moments ago, said that our para budget was expanded, right? And now you just, in that wish list, said you'd like to see more student services. Well, that's parents.
But we fixed that
Let me
budget.
finish, please. The contribution we're talking about potentially making to invest in our field is a one-time contribution. Positions need to be funded year after year after year. I looked at the budget presentation. We're adding a lot of positions.
We are.
We're adding a lot of positions. And we did it at 1%. Your wish list would easily cost us 2 or 3%. And that also lacks careful analysis. I just know that personnel is very, very expensive. I will reiterate that our administrative team, led by Dr. George, a man with his doctorate in doing this exact job, has delivered to us a thoughtful, comprehensive plan to move education forward. And in our district, we have had a non-stop stream of what I'm going to call baseless thoughts. You say, well, I think we can move money around. But how? How? Amy Gallagher is a business administrator. If we can move money around,
doing it now.
she would. Joan, to say it doesn't make it possible. To say it throws mud on a very good budget without any careful analysis whatsoever. It is really literally just you saying, we can move money around. Where would you like to move it from? Perhaps we would go without lighting. If we went without lighting, we probably have 4 nurses in every building because our energy bill is very high. But we wouldn't do that. So you can't just say, we can move money around. If you have some suggestion that's tied to an actual analysis, please let us hear it. But to just say, I think we can move money around, is to throw, really, it's really just throwing money at us. And I have to tell you, I have a heck of a lot of faith in Dr. George, and I'll tell you, you must too, because you voted for him, and I think the guy's fantastic. I don't think he threw his budget together without careful consideration and very exhaustive, professional analysis.
This is not an attack on Dr. George. I mean, last year we were $7.2 million, Chris, over. $7.3 million over that we were able to put money into our capital reserve, which is a great thing. If we're coming close, that's what I want to know. Where do we have excess money? And I'm not saying to put every one of these things in. This was a list of things that if we had money that we could move around to buy things now for next year's budget and put these positions in for next year's budget, that we could pick some of these many things that our administrators and staff have asked for and that would benefit our kids in the classrooms now. That's what I'm saying. This is not an attack. It's a suggestion, and it's too bad that, we couldn't have talked about this sooner, not knowing that we had money left over in accounts that we might be able to address.
But Joan, money is...
Vinny, Mr. Brand, I think we all have saved out, and at this point, I think we all know where we're at in the budget. The budget is as proposed. So, Ms. Gallagher, we can go on.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
That's coming from me. Mr. Brand?
Yes.
Mrs. Caminiti?
No.
Mr. Cody?
Yes.
Mr. Donnelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Griffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Minuis?
No.
Mr. Wexelberg?
Yes.
Mr. Avina?
Yes. them up to the public. There is an addendum to the agenda, which is looking for approval for a proposed shared service agreement between the Middletown Board of Education and the Township of Middletown. Explain it.
Mr. Vita, the board had discussed going back into executive session. Would you like me to discuss it before we do that?
Yes.
Okay. The proposed shared services agreement is a 10-year agreement between, that is 10-year agreement between the Township of Middletown and the Board of Education, calling for shared services in the operation of fields both on board property and on township property, but all obviously for the benefit of the taxpayers and students of Middletown. The idea behind this agreement came when we passed the resolution both by the township and the board on October 28th, just before Sandy came to visit. That's why we've had several months between that resolution and now. The general concept is there will be a priority list made of township and board facilities. They will be improved and maintained by the parties. The specific new idea in this agreement is that the township will agree to construct 2 new fields, possibly 3 new fields, but the guarantee is for 2. Those fields will be artificial turf, multi-purpose fields, unless issues such as grading, the ever popular Department of Environmental Protection, and other things get in the way and necessitate natural turf fields at any of these locations. One of the fields will be on the south part of Middletown, and one of the fields will be in the north part of Middletown. The tentative location would be Thompson Middle School, and the location on the north half could be between Thorn and Harmony, could be anywhere, but it was specified that it would be north of 335, so that essentially all members of the Township of Middletown population will have equal access to these new built fields. In consideration for the township undertaking the specifications, architecture, engineering, project management, bidding, and construction of these 2 fields, the township would get a contribution from the Board of Education in the amount of $250,000, which would be due from the board to the township by June 30th, 2014. The board will retain all priority of use in its own fields. The contributions and the work by the township will not change the fact that the Thompson Field is the Thompson Middle School multi-purpose athletic field. All of your priorities of use will remain the same. For those of you who have been around for a while, there have been some adventures in turf here in Middletown, and the parties have agreed, the township has been very cooperative with the board in agreeing to acknowledge the prior negative experience, which is both an English term and a legalese term, meaning that some of the people who have made messes in this town will not be eligible to do any of this work. That is just to avoid repeating history. The possibility of ancillary construction exists, meaning bleachers, bathroom facilities, concession stands, possibly lights, but none of those are part of this agreement. The ideas are mentioned in this agreement because at some future time, the township may wish to add to these facilities. If the township wishes to do so, it would fund them, and it would do so only with the agreement of the Board of Education if these properties are at the board school site. Conversely, if the board wishes to add anything, it could do so at its own decision and at its own funding with notice to the township, but no permission would be required because it's your property. The timing that is anticipated is that these fields would take place, the field constructions would take place hopefully this summer, when school is out. All construction would take place when school is out unless that becomes impossible. If that becomes impossible, then only one field would be under construction at any given time so that there's not a major problem with usage. That is the essence of the agreement. The only other piece that I did want to mention is that the township would not have jurisdiction or permitting authority over the 2 high school turf fields. Those remain in the exclusive control, use, permitting, and funding of the Board of Education. In other words, all usage permits for the high school north and south turf fields would come back into maintenance reserve for the district in the interest of being able to refurbish and maintain those fields. The high school south field is not new. It's not old because it's a very good field. If it were a cheaper field, it would be very old right now. But fortunately, it's a high-quality field that is maintaining its integrity very nicely. But at some point, the increased use will result in need for replacement of that, and that will be funded through the permitting that is in place now. I believe that's the basis of the agreement. The discussion that Mrs. Minuis and Mr. Brand had, just for clarification for the township, yes, there is a request as part of this agreement, it's agreed to by the board, for a $250,000 contribution from the Board of Education.
Could you say why the document is not out for the public?
I could. I will.
Thank you.
Paragraph 15 of the document clarifies that it's a shared services agreement. What that means, it used to be called an interlocal agreement, but in New Jersey we just change and regulate things all the time. So it's now called a shared services agreement. It is under the Open Public Records Act. It is an internal advisory, consultative, or deliberative document until both parties have acted on it. Then it becomes a public document. It will absolutely be available to all members of the public. It will be a purely public document. But it's not yet, because the township hasn't worked on it. They haven't signed off on it yet. They have agreed in principle to every word of this document. I've been in touch with Mr. Nelson, so that, and he's the township attorney, so that both of our clients can vote on it. And just to be clear to the board and to the public, nothing is done until you count to 5 tonight. You've got 9 members here, so everybody's here to speak their conscience and vote as they see fit. The same thing will be true of the township committee at another time, the next public meeting. So that's where we are. That's why it's not a public document for Mrs. Mears. It's a good point. Thank you for asking.
I just think the public should know why they don't have it.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. At this time, we'd like to open up the mic to the public for 30 minutes for public comment on agenda items only.
Good evening, my name is Joe Marino. I'm the president of the Middletown Soccer Club. And I have a question first before I tell you about the research I've done today. Mr. Brand, you said that if the Board of Education donates $250,000, the township will give back $1.5 million.
That is correct. For every $1 that we invest, not invest, the town will be prepared $6. This is what I would call negative return. That's a positive situation. You get $6 for every $1 invest.
I call that 17% return on money. And as we all know, with the banks are offering today, you can't get that anyway. So anyway, I want to make you aware of some of the facilities in our surrounding areas. There is the Jackson Justice Complex that has 4 turf fields, football field, softball field, and 2 specialist little league fields. Okay. Manalapan Recreational Center, right, has 2 handball courts, 3 baseball fields, a fitness trail, 6 football, and soccer fields. Turf field, by the way. We play in a league called Muslim Travel Soccer League. And these are the field directions for Tom's Ready. And at their middle school, East Dover Elementary, they have a turf field. Okay, so we may have turf fields at our high school, but now we need them in our elementary schools. Brick Township, another local. Veterans Memorial Middle School has a turf field, right? All I ask is that I urge and ask you to vote for these turf fields, put us on par with the surrounding townships. Thank you.
My name is Rob Barrero. I've been here before as Joe. I'm also part of the Middletown Soccer Club, and just a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank the board for a lot of the good things they've done so far with the township and to help local sports organizations by opening up the high school turf fields. And I think that's absolutely a step in a positive direction. This is another positive step, and although Joe had mentioned about the return, I don't think anyone can deny, although this is a Board of Education, I don't think anyone can deny the importance of athletics as part of the overall school experience. To Mr. Brand's point earlier, this session today earlier acknowledged a ton of athletes who were also students. A couple of meetings ago, the board acknowledged a ton of student athletes in soccer and football categories. The funny thing about fields is Middletown Township hasn't been very good at it recently. So in an effort to facilitate the future, of our children and build that spirit that Middletown really needs. If you think about Middletown South, and when I was in high school north, it was Middletown North, by the way, but the football program in South has instilled so much pride in this town. It just shows what sports can do for the community. I just have some questions with regards to the proposal and maybe the suggestion. And I do appreciate the details you did share, but I just want to make sure I'm clear. So, 2 definite turf fields, is that correct? One on the north side, one on the south side?
The plan calls for as many as 3 definite fields. If the chosen locations can support turf fields, although turf fields dry quickly, they dry because they drain. They have to drain somewhere. This involves the DEP.
Yeah.
So yes, the plan is for turf fields, but plan B, in any location the turf fields prove impossible, would be to go to natural turf fields.
Okay, understood. So, if I can make one suggestion, we're a town divided by 2 high schools. Thompson was the selected school from what I had heard prior to coming here for a turf field. As we all know, Bayshore is the one school that's the feeder to both high schools, so if that could be considered, instead of pitting a Thompson versus Bourne, I would ask if that be considered. In terms of maintenance and the bidding and all that, I will say that Middletown Soccer Club has been around for 23 years. We're going on a 23rd year. For the first time, as far as we remember, our tournament last weekend had to be rescheduled because of the conditions of the fields in the township. So my request would be, if it hasn't been sorted already, that the Board of Education take the initiative of maintaining these fields in lieu of the township, if possible. And in terms of bidding, to your point earlier about the history of construction, particularly of fields in Middletown, but more specifically Fairview Fields, I would also ask that the Board of Education take into consideration the role of bidding. I think the Board of Ed has demonstrated their commitment to doing the right thing, data points, pricing, metrics, what have you. I think the fields, high school fields are definitely a testimony to a good project, and I would ask that the Board of Ed lead those initiatives in the township. So I want to thank you for your time and encourage you to support this initiative for all the good things that it can do for Middletown, for our student athletes, for the township, and for the future work of the children. Thank you.
Middletown, very exciting fields. Just a few questions. When you said there are going to be new fields, I can't necessarily call the fields we have fields, but will that just be going over existing fields, or are they actually going to be brand new fields? So it'll be in addition to what we actually have.
It would not be a new location, mostly.
Okay.
But it would be truly a new field. It is not a question of rolling out a carpet or throwing down some seed.
Right.
It would be an engineered
But, okay, but
in the professional
it
setting.
will probably cover an existing field, but it
Yes.
would be, obviously it would be much, it can't be.
Yes, it would be on a familiar location. If it is at Thorn, it would be in that back area to the back left of Thorn where the larger fields are now. For example, if it's it would be where the two fields above.
Oh, right.
So it wouldn't be, we're not talking about buying property or clearing trees. It would be an existing location, but a new field on it.
That wouldn't be any issues.
What we do.
Yeah. I also appreciate the comments that were made before. I've written that down as well about the maintenance. I'm going to try to put this diplomatically, but I know at Nut Swamp, the township has somewhat destroyed our fields where we relied on them for maintenance. And I would be very concerned. I would assume you have more experience with maintenance of turf fields, that should be discussed. And I look at Mr. Cody because I know you're very experienced and you won't let some of the things that happened in the past happen again as well with the vendors. But I would be very.
That's already covered in the agreement.
Okay.
The township, even through shared services agreement, there will still be in legal requirement / track of awarding to the lowest responsible bidder. So that's somewhat beyond our control. But to your point about existing fields that may not be reconstructed, the first paragraph of this agreement speaks in terms of creating a joint priority list for maintenance, upgrade, and rehabilitation of the pastures, which we hope to have become athletic fields. Where I think Mr. Green spoke about some of the conditions of the fields out there in the township. And those are our district students, and those are taxpayers' children. So yeah, all fields are in play.
I mean, we actually had more fields at No Swamp, and then we dumped a whole bunch of fill and never fixed it. So, I mean, there have been issues in the past that concern me about relying on the township for maintenance.
It will be collaborative.
I do want to say, I've been on the Shared Services Committee, having Cody, this is me, Mike Donlin, former board member of the Shared Services Committee with us. The township has a very, very healthy appetite to work collaboratively with the schools to improve the field conditions across the township. We talk about need and we talk about maintenance. If you go to the cornfields, there are literally, I'm not making this up, you can go to it, do it. There are hunks of concrete and glass in both goal areas at the Thorns School that we have our students play on. And the town is aware of that, and I can tell you the town is working very, very hard to help assure us they're a willing and active partner in this improvement.
So beyond the two turf fields, then as part of this deal, they are going to maintain, there's a priority list to maintain the other existing fields as well.
Not just for the bed though, all township.
Correct.
So we don't know what priority our school fields are in.
Well,
Yeah, right?
we will, because first of all, the agreement doesn't exist until you say it does. But secondly, the agreement speaks in terms of the parties jointly through their administrations who are in charge of running the facilities, establishing the priority list. So if, for instance, Thorn Middle School or Harmony Elementary School and Bodmin Park became the two most horrible fields, voted the most horrible fields in town, then they would go to the top of the priority list. That's just hypothetical, obviously. But yes, all those fields are part of this discussion.
Also, the payment is due June 2014, so that technically comes out of this budget you just passed. And
No. I don't know the answer to that. No one does. Because the payment of the last $250,000 is due on June 30th, 2014. There is no requirement that it be paid in lump sum, nor that it be paid out of one budget or the other.
So it's either this budget, existing budget.
It will come out of
or
either this
next
budget or the budget that was just approved. Yes.
I mean, I think this is very exciting, and I think it's great, but you kind of have to find that money.
Well, we took the fields our way away.
So I guess from a public perspective, it would be
nice to know where that money is coming from. Although I think it's very exciting, this is something that should happen. We do have to find that money, so it's got to come out of someplace. And
Mrs. Gallagher, would you please speak to that, please, in general?
Sure, as was stated, because the payment is due June 30th, 2014, we have, if the board agrees and goes forward with this, with the contract involved, the district would have the option to either look at our current budget to see if there's monies that could be reallocated to this for a payment, or we would have to do the same process in next year's budget, take a look at that and see if monies could be reallocated to cover this payment. I mean, as you know, the budget was just approved. This was not specifically budgeted for in next year's budget. So it would be either taking a look at the current year's budget or next year's budget and reallocating money to make those payments.
And also, just to remember, there was a huge line of girls up there that were swimmers. And if you want a return on investment, from the pool. M2 makes a lot of money on their pools. So, obviously, that's a swimmer.
Any track. Jim Brennan, a couple of comments. One about the fields that I'm hearing about for the first time. And it's good news for me. I don't have any children in the district at all, but it's nice to hear that something's going to finally be done there. And what I'm also hearing that's not being addressed is that it seems to be the Board of Education's budget versus the municipal budget. And what's not being addressed there is the taxpayer. It's the taxpayer's budget here, so we need to be really clear and on the record there. It's just a matter of what percentage is coming out of the school budget, what's coming out of the municipal budget. And another topic I want to bring up, and maybe for future conversation, is the idea of deferred taxes. Now, last year there was I believe it was a resolution, maybe an ordinance, but basically year after year after year, the money that isn't used or collected with the tax levy by the school or by the Board of Education, which are on two different fiscal calendars, the township captures that money and uses it in their budget. Last year was a little over $2 million. It basically runs between $1 million and $1.5 million, which happens to be the amount that the township is willing to give back. Again, it's taxpayer dollars. Going to the issue of nurses, and I don't want to address it because it came up along the lines of this particular agenda item. For me, the bottom line is the health and welfare of students. All right? Recreation is very important. It was important to me when I was in high school as well as in college. And so I don't think we should miss the fact that it's not school recreational capacity versus a nurse. They're two different things. They were coming up in the same conversation. So from my perspective as a taxpayer, I would much rather see my money go to that nurse. Not that I don't want to see money go to recreation. I think both need to be addressed, but they should not be addressed at the same time. So I would hope that in the future, there would be a conversation around the health, welfare, and safety, and not about the recreational activity, particularly between two board members. This has been an eye-opener for me. So I would also request that there be a future Board of Education meeting addressing the topic or the theme of deferred taxes, because I'm fairly sure that members on this board don't know what that is, and that members of the public don't know what that is either, but they're essentially tax dollars that are collected for educational purposes that are then moved into the municipal budget. That could be dollars that legally should be looked at, that could be maybe recaptured and held in a rainy day fund. Thank you.
I'd like to speak about policy on implementing evaluations. On C, section C, in the first paragraph, number also on the agenda, under student services, item number 6. So I noticed on the agenda from the workshop and on the agenda here that we are now for independent evaluations removing people that from the Board of Education's list of approved independent evaluators. There's 9 people's names on that list. And the reason that we're removing them from the list is because they were witnesses for families in court cases. So, and that's the only reason that's stated here, is because they were witnesses against the district. They were used for independent evaluations by parents. They were chosen off of the list from the board then. And so when they had them testify, they were just doing their job. They'd already done the independent evaluation, my understanding of how this works, and they're asked to call court. Now they're taken off of the list of approved people. And then here in our policy, it says the independent evaluator is not currently, or in the past, been identified as a witness against the district. So, conflict of interest. There's only so many doctors in the county. And to me, this is telling the people that are eligible to be independent witnesses that if they do an independent evaluation for one of our students in the district, that if they are called to court and they're going to be as a witness for the parents, that they will no longer be able to do independent evaluations. And I know independent evaluations are, they're something that a lot of doctors really like to do. They get, paid well for them, and and they're independent. They're unbiased, supposedly, evaluations. So, what I feel like this is stacking the deck against the parents. Instead of finding ways to make it where parents have less ways that they can present their case. I know some parents, I know quite a few parents that have had to go to court, and this is prior administration, it's current administration. They don't go to court necessarily because they want to be out of district, but they go to court because the district can't provide what their child needs. And so by not allowing them to have these independent evaluators, I feel like having a policy that's telling every doctor out there that if they stand up for a parent and just say, this is what my evaluation has said about this child, that they can no longer do these independent evaluations, we're not going to really have anyone to choose from to do these evaluations. So, and I don't know, I'm sure it must be legal that you do this, or it wouldn't be in the policy. So.
It is legal, I understand your point, but at the same time, there is, in fact, a conflict of interest. If somebody is an expert witness, and forget about special education, but if somebody is an expert witness on behalf of doctors, if you're suing a doctor in a medical malpractice claim, you're not going to use that expert witness. It's logical for the board, and the board, although it has an obligation to every one of its students, also has an obligation to every one of its taxpayers. For that reason, this model policy, this is not a Middletown policy, this comes from Strauss Esmond, which is the policy entity that represents a couple of hundred, or services a couple of hundred school districts in the state. This is coming from them as a state level recommendation, and a logical one. I completely understand and respect your point of view. But if the board is looking to hire an expert, the board is looking to hire an expert to defend its position and to be an advocate for the board's position. So it does make some sense. I would also suggest that There are no shortages of this type of expert. They are of varying quality, of course. But I don't think that this policy it certainly doesn't create a legal problem, and I don't think it creates a shortage. If it were to do that, the board's always free to revisit the issue.
Well, it's sending a message to the doctors that if they do these independent evaluations, that for Middletown parents, that there's a chance they could be called in court, and that they will no longer be able to do Middletown evaluations. You know, my whole point about this is it's just stacking the deck against families that need to have these independent evaluations. And the point of them too is not necessarily to go out of district, but to say what is the level of the child. You know, and I, you know, improving programs is why we want to keep kids in district, not lawsuits. You know, and hopefully they don't get to that. And usually when they do, it's because the district's not providing what they need. And, you know, I just had to question this, because I don't think it's right. And I think down the line, you know, I did not know it came from the state, because I don't know that much about policies. It looked to me like the darkened stuff was added to what was there before.
That's true. But
Okay.
it's added, not by.
It's coming down from the state,
It's coming,
which
not
isn't
the,
surprising.
well, not the state, let me be clear about that. Stress Estimate is an independent agency, they're a company, they do policies. So it's not coming from the state, it's not a state mandate, it's not a regulation, it's just a recommendation. Stress Estimate's goal is to save taxpayers money in all of their districts, rural districts.
Yeah. And when you say there's no shortage, I kind of beg to differ on that. There's only a limited number, and especially when it's so good, you know, and I just think this is unfortunate that it's going in this direction. And, you know, as we continue on, the list that we have is going to get shorter and shorter, you know, because, you know, hopefully it won't. We don't want the lawsuits, but, you know, they're going to happen. And I think everyone just deserves a fair shake at getting the real information to be judged.
Hello again, Bob Banzer again. Real quick, as far as what we're hearing is this new addendum or addition here to the agenda with the fields, it's exciting to me to think that we may have the opportunity to put into our facilities what is being proposed here. As the other gentleman had explained, is he's talking about the $1.5 million that went out to the township. Whatever reason, whatever way this is happening, that they want to offer us back $1.5 million, whether it was our money to begin with or not, it's money coming back into our facilities. That if we're making a small investment for it, that makes a lot of sense to me. And I see a lot of benefits to that. Also, to the other effect of the positions and things that we would want from the district, and I have to reiterate or you know, reverberate what Mr. Grant said in regards to Dr. George, who I have the utmost respect for. And I feel you do a phenomenal job putting this budget together. And a lot of the concerns go into making it. I caution you on the next budget, the next one that you propose, don't do such a good job as far as getting us to 1%. Think of all this input, of all the things that Joan's talking about that can be put in. If Mrs. Gallagher is telling me in a spreadsheet that me, the sprawling Banta estate, coming in about $350,000 worth of value, if it cost me about $5 a month increase, it was in that range, I would gladly spend 10 and go to 2% and get everything she's asking for, keep my nurse, find out the other schools that only have one nurse, what the magic trick is that they're doing, that they're getting by with one, because maybe we should be adding a nurse to those schools rather than taking one away. My point is, you guys are doing a phenomenal job for us. Don't think we're afraid to spend money as taxpayers for the things that you want to bring to this district. Don't feel you have to limit us to 1% if we're allowed 2%. Thank you.
I just want to clear up, I didn't want to go to 2%, I wanted to stay at 1%, but I wanted to use the money that we did use this year to get some of the stuff in the new budget so that we could put different stuff under the 1%. That's what.
Gotcha. And I appreciate, again, you guys taking care, looking out for the taxpayer, looking out for me. And again, I don't speak for every taxpayer in Middletown, I know that. But if I'm relating it to a $5 increase a month towards getting all the things you're talking about, and perhaps going a little bit more than that, and getting more of the things that you're talking about, and the things that we want for the district, you know, maybe all those issues need to be brought before the budget's put together and, you know, we go a little closer to the ceiling rather than back away from it, that's all.
Yeah, that's a great point. And Rob, just to clarify too, the 250 they're putting in the field, you couldn't add a position because it's a one-time expense. Positions are ongoing. But I applaud your stamina. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
Man, I was a mother. You know,
Sarah.
Stole the
President of
pen.
St. Mary's Soccer Club.
Karen, bring the pen back.
Karen's got it.
Not me this time.
Questions?
Bob's got it. What did I do?
You stole the pen.
No, I didn't. I have no pen, Cole. None.
I didn't accuse you, Bob.
Thank you.
That looks like the pen.
Increase his time.
I give you one out of my car.
Thank you. I've been in and out, I didn't exactly understand where the money was coming from for the turf fields. Somebody tell us, is it taxpayers' money?
Absolutely. I mean, all of the money in the budgets of the township and of the Board of Education are taxpayer dollars.
So, I have a question. You guys set a limit of how much it would cost to rent?
Excuse me?
Is there going to be a cost to use the fields?
Yes. There already is the right to use all the fields.
Okay, no, meaning, is it certain cost, is it the same cost that's now for the grass fields, or is it going to be as expensive as the high school fields that are initially certain times of use?
The township will set the fees.
Or would it be certain times of usage? The reason I'm asking is our club's in a league that starts a little earlier than the rest of the soccer clubs around. Right now, we're renting fields from other towns. So it's a little embarrassing that we have to have people coming from all over New Jersey come to a town that we're not even playing in just to play soccer. We question us why we told them that we're trying to better our fields and rest of them. I'm just curious if these fields are going to have a certain time of use or are they going to do them all year round?
Yeah, there will be times to use as far as, are you talking about time of year or time of day?
Time of year and day, both.
Weekends or?
Well, meaning that
after school?
we start in the beginning of March. Some other clubs don't start till late. So as I said, we have to rent for a few weeks or a month from another town.
Yeah, part of the concept behind this proposed agreement would be to improve the quality of the fields, improve the drainage of the fields, improve the integrity of the fields so that they're usable more of the year. There is some conflict between the township and the Board of Education now, where the township is effectively saying that users can't use board property until a certain date. That's something that we need to sort out, but it's also something that we can hopefully make movement moving forward. By improving these fields, by improving the drainage, they will be viable for a significantly larger percentage of the year.
I think it's great that someone trying to make the fields better and rest of them. It was short notice, and a lot of other towns I'm learning now experiencing the same thing. It just makes it kind of tough on our organization to find out. Pretty much last minute, we're sort of scrambling around. And just hoping, who's going to have priority of the fields?
During school hours, it'll be the school.
No, meaning on weekends.
It will be the same priorities that have always been. It'll be school organizations at first, township organizations. Can you describe the tiers?
Well, again, the township does permit our fields. We don't permit our fields except for the turf, but the way that the district does it is we do give priority to school uses, school-related teams, school organizations. Other than that, for our other facilities, we have taken in the applications and tried to divide the time equitably amongst the other community teams. But that's what we do for our indoor facilities. I would imagine the same would go for our outdoor fields when that time comes.
You guys take into consideration that there's 2 soccer clubs in Middletown, both share them.
maybe we start a little earlier so we can work something out.
Just,
Because I really don't think it's fair. It's great that we're trying to fix the fields and start at three. This is the future we're getting. Now to leave our town where we're supposed to be having our home games to go to other towns. It's kind of tough. It's nice that they're renting the fields and renting them for a cheaper price in our own town. On the other hand, it's just kind of tough on the other.
I can speak for myself and for, and I'll tell you what I've been told by the township, my counterpart, not me. We'll be looking for a shared services meeting. Hopefully this component of this will come together this evening. But if it does, we'll meet with you for another shared services meeting where we'll be talking and addressing these exact issues. When we can get them open and how fast we can get them open. Because it is important, I understand, for not just soccer, but for us baseball, and every sport needs to be on the field as early as they can. So that component of it is definitely on the agenda to address. First piece of this is to try and make tonight's agreement go through, and then get to the next phase, which is making it equitable distribution of field and making it go down.
I think it's great, very long overdue as most people.
It is.
Just, still didn't get clarification on, is it going to be more than rental turf fields in the next ones? Or is that not?
New fields, new additional turf?
Yes.
That hasn't been discussed.
Hopefully we can make it a better rate, so at least we can use it, because it's great that you opened up the high school fields, but as you said, because there's a shit is high cost, they're just going to be a few $100s to play with soccer. You know, sports are expensive. Soccer might be
Those
rates have been
$100 for 2 hours.
it dropped for
Those rates have been better now.
2 hours.
During the week, I think it's 125 for 2 hours.
So, let's say the soccer game is about an hour, the race runs over an hour, so it costs us $100 per game.
Yeah, but there's also, Mrs. Calgary, is there, on the weekend, is there a block rate?
Yes, we have 4-hour block rates and 8-hour block rates.
What are those prices?
I'd have to look it up, I don't know them off the top of my head, if you give me 1 second, I think I have a copy of this.
Class 2 facility uses which you perform the turf field, only 1 hour, 2 hours on the weekdays is $100, 4 hours on the weekdays is $150. On the weekend, 2 hours is $125, for 4 hours is $150. And weekdays for 8 hours is $300, and for weekends, 8 hours is $270.
Now that we're paying for these, so we're paying the practice on, we're paying them down.
Well, these are high
I'm
school
not
laws.
referring to I'm just referring to all the public fields that we give to each organization. Will they be lined? Is that part of our rental, say for soccer field, will they be lined and we'll build posts and nets and we just renting out grass? Even rentals cost a lot better.
All of them, issues are part of our meeting. I will tell you that, yeah, the town is willing and active. And they're very, very dedicated to improving the condition across the board. So I will also tell you that in terms of fees, the township recently increased its fee to rent fee. And all of those fees by township ordinance go into maintenance and improving field. So really what the town is putting together with the board of ed is a very comprehensive go-forward plan. Really improve. I say improve life in Middletown. I think it's so much more than sports. It's everything. I've talked about that about it, so everyone knows about it.
Middletown is one of the biggest soccer clubs around. It's kind of embarrassing, like I said, it's long overdue. We're a huge organization. We have people coming in from all over New Jersey to see the quality of our town. And thank you guys for coming across. Some people might not think it feels important that, you know, we're all broken bricks and stuff are, but these fields are keeping kids out of the knowledge of.
I don't think anybody's saying that the field on is one of the something that concerns me. I don't think.
I just think sports, sports for children. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? I'd like to close the public portion. time. And Alexander, a motion to approve the minutes for executive session February 27th and voting meeting February 27th.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention. Couple of things on the report for President. High school graduation is confirmed for June 26th.
Yes, with no changes with the inclement weather, high school graduation is scheduled at this point for the 26th, and middle school promotion for the 27th. We will finalize that in the April meeting afterwards, the threat of inclement weather is known.
And it's still at the same place as Monmouth University and Maxwell Town?
Yes, as we originally discussed with Monmouth, when they realized that for all school districts, they weren't going to be, the majority were not going to be done by the third week of June, they adjusted their schedule, which opened our date up, and since, thanks to Ms. Walker, who was the first person they told us to reach out to them about this issue, when it was moved, we were number one on the priority list. So thanks to Ms. Walker's diligence, we were on the top of the list. We got our date on the 26th. And the middle school promotions were the recommendation from the superintendent with the input of the administrative teams, and we did discuss this with our middle school principals, is to do it the way we did it last year and do them at South, between the 7 promotions, middle school promotions.
Okay, now, moving on, need the approval for shared services agreement between the Middletown Board of Education and the Township of Middletown. That was
So moved. Second.
discussion.
We're
I like
not going to be given the options, 1, 2, or 3?
Which one are we voting on?
You're voting on the addendum and the attachment that is with the addendum entitled Attachment Addendum 1.
I think it's 3 options. Right?
Really weren't.
Under 4-6, they have new fields. And then they have 1, 2, and 3.
Those are subsections.
So do we vote on all of them, or do we?
Yes, it's like an outline. You're looking at page under 6, new multi-sport athletic fields?
Yes.
Yes, that's all part of the proposed agreement. Section A has subparts, Roman numerals 1, 2, and 3.
So who decides what's going to happen with like that? As far as like, I don't understand, we're voting on this. We're voting to accept this whole agenda? The way it
We're
is?
voting with 4.6 subsection 3.
We're voting with 4.6 subsection 3. So we're voting, we could have money in
No,
there,
they're-
we might not have it.
They're all in there, Mrs. Kennedy.
Yeah.
Sections 1, 2, and 3 are all in that agreement. The agreement that you're voting on, that is being presented, includes section 3, which is the $250,000 contribution to the board.
Under the question is, does that mean that we're voting to contribute to 50?
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to explain something. I'm not saying, I'm not against fields, by no means. I think we need a happy medium that it makes a good school district. So I am not against the field. I don't feel this is clear, because I was under the assumption that, I never heard of 3 fields. 3 fields was way back when, we could get 3 fields. I thought we were getting definitely 2 fields. Then the donation came, okay? But now, okay, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, it's there. I don't see here saying that we're definitely getting 2. We're definitely getting 1. We might get 2. Getting 1 multi-purpose. We might get 2, maybe. We see how the money goes.
If you look at the beginning of section 6, Mrs. Kennedy on page 3,
On page 3, yes.
where it says new fields,
Yes.
it clarifies that the parties will be collaborating on the construction, operation, and maintenance of 3 fields. Then if you wander down beyond that, it may go down to 2 fields. But the two are guaranteed, and the $250,000 is part of the consideration as this agreement is worded right now.
There's a word there that follows it, collaborate. This is a contract, this is an agreement, right? It's a contract, it's binding.
Yes.
And
It's not binding until the board votes on it.
Right, and we're gonna vote on it now. We're gonna vote on something that's gonna be binding by us, and I wanna vote on it. I don't think we're protecting ourselves enough, because I'm not happy with just one field. I don't think that
It's 2 fields, Mrs. Kemp.
Yeah, but there's no guarantee.
The contribution of $250,000
it's gonna guarantee us
commits the
2
township
fields.
to building 2 fields on Board of Education property, one on the south side of town and one north of the.
Right, and I know we're getting one turf and one natural, and that's it. It's okay. It's not a problem, but it's the idea of being, that all the children to have places to play. Because during the day, like Vinnie is saying, it is going to benefit our school district. And it's, I want to make sure that the other student is going to have a field.
Yes, the 2 fields will be constructed under this contract as it's proposed and presented for your vote right now.
Everybody heard that.
Where is the second field definitely going?
The second field, the only way to answer that question, Mr. Minu, is the second field is definitely going north of Route 35.
And it's a
No,
site to be
there is
mutually
no
agreed upon.
guarantee where, the guarantee is that it will be on school property north of Route 35. That includes several school buildings. It includes 2 of your middle schools and approximately half of your elementary schools. It's going to be at one of those locations.
I just want to let me make one comment, and then I'll let everybody else speak. Because I think it's very, very important for everyone to know. The township is making a significant allocation of funds over the next few years for capital improvements for athletic facilities. They will be building new fields, facilities, whether or not we agree to this or not. So the main purpose, I guess, for the Board of Education, from my point of view at least, is by us contributing to $250,000, we are essentially guaranteeing two brand new facilities on our property. Now, if we don't go forward with the agreement, which we don't have to, the township will build these facilities elsewhere. But what this will give us the right in this agreement is that we'll have the first right of usage for our students during school and for our varsity teams and every other, student that's in these schools or, they go to other surrounding schools to use the fields. So to me, that's probably, the main thrust behind this decision, in my opinion.
I'll add that I've been to a lot of meetings. I've never heard anybody say, I wish the town and the Board of Ed would work less well together. I've only and always heard they want us to work together collaboratively to improve our town. And I will say this, I said it at many meetings. I live in Middletown, I was born and raised in Middletown, and I love this town, 100% dedicated to this town. If I didn't live here, and I was going to move into this town, I would look hard at other communities that have made investments in their physical plants, both their classrooms, their sports facilities, their infrastructure for their delivery of internet. I would look for districts that have forward-thinking, aggressive plans for their students. That's what this is to me. Just one last point. We talk about $250,000 one-time expense. We will, over years, save money on maintenance of at least the one turf complex. If we get 2, we'll be able to take our maintenance team and redirect their attention to other areas. So we will be improving and we will be saving money. This is a very, very important agreement. It's an opportunity for us to work together in our town and to make the investment in our town, not just our students, but our town. Maybe it'll help sell that house on Kings Highway. Maybe it'll help fill the commercial vacancies on Route 35. We need this type of leadership and we need this type of action. I really implore all of you to vote yes on this.
Well, yeah, I just think that people need to know too. I mean, it makes it sound like if we're voting no, that we're not working with the township. The district I'm all for letting them build turf fields or whatever on our school property. The money is an issue for me. But, and another reason why it is because when they rent out our fields and they get the fees, we are giving the town the contribution to keep that money and to put that money toward replacing fields throughout the district. So I really feel that we are working together and that we are being generous. We're not asking for that money back to put in our accounts. We're letting them take that money and put their priority list together and hopefully fix the fields that are out there. So, I don't want anybody thinking that we're not giving the town money. I think they're doing a great job, and I think they're gonna do a great job. It's the $250,000 that is really getting to me, and no guarantee where this second field is gonna go. At first at Shared Services, it was Thompson and Thorne. I always knew that Thorne was gonna be an issue because there's a major drainage issue there. There's no doubt, it's wetlands, we're gonna have a problem. We put this field on an elementary school. Yeah, it's good for the community soccer fields, soccer teams and stuff to use, but what are we really, where's it gonna benefit our elementary kids? Just to go out and run around on a turf field, where it would benefit our middle schools, more.
I don't believe that there's a plan to build on an elementary school, and the agreement does say that it's a site to be mutually agreed upon by the board and the township.
But why did it change? Why did it change from our agreement?
Maybe there could be concerns with engineering over at Vaughan, with drainage, so that I guess to protect themselves from the agreement, they just want to make sure they have the language just in the event that they need to change the alternate site.
I just want to go on the record, I'm all for them building their fields on our schools. That was the agreement that we talked about for a very long time. And I don't think, like you said before, I don't think anybody up here disagrees. I think that if they have the money, this is great, build it. We're all there.
I think that we have to make this commitment. And I don't know how an elementary child, particularly one with ambulatory needs, would not benefit from a turf field. My daughter runs cross country, and I see children out there running, and I see tremendous benefit. And when I watch the great race we can share, I see children running with ambulatory issues, and they would absolutely benefit. And I think that there's one thing we should know, and that is that childhood obesity levels are at an all-time high. We should let the children know it's important. It's important. It's the way of life.
Anybody else on the board?
I'd like to comment on that. This here is a very good business decision for this district to turn around and make tonight. And here are some of the reasons. The last time we built 2 turf fields for this district, it cost us $3.1 million without lawyer services or professional services. We have an opportunity to turn around and join a joint venture with the township to spend $250,000 to get 2 turf fields. So with that alone, we sit up here and we try to spend the taxpayers' money wisely. Well, here is an opportunity for this district to benefit from by spending $250,000. And we built 2 turf fields here. It cost us $3.1 million without professional services or legal bills. So at $250,000 to benefit $3.1 million, I think it's just a no-brainer for us to go along with it.
I've made a comment. I see this as a win-win for the community and school district. It will improve and create a state-of-the-art fields in the district, and also to be used by all the students, not just public school students, but all the students in this community. And the $250,000 is well worth the investment. And over the years, as I drive around Middletown, it's a disgrace the kind of fields we have in this community, and it's about time that we have state-of-the-art fields.
Mr. Bennett?
I just want to say that I'm all for the field. I believe that academics and athletics go hand in hand. It's very important that we do have facilities that are good, because obviously in Middletown we don't have them. But I do have an issue with the $250,000. I think that we are here as a Board of Education for academics first, and I think we could use the $250,000 for improvements on our own facilities. As we hear Mr. Cody say that he's been walking around the facilities and our buildings do need repair. And I think we should look at that before we look at any fields. And I also think that, we can even have this nurse for 200, we can have a nurse for $100,000, and that's more important to the community, and that's, health is very important, and I understand athletics is important, but the health and safety is what we're here for, and the academic aspect is what we're here for.
Mr. Bennett, I totally agree with you. The unfortunate part is it's an opportunity that presented itself, and we have to make a decision. And I think as some of the board members are expressing, for $250,000, working with the township collaboratively, to get an upgrade at $1.7 million. It's be very difficult to pass up. And I do understand the money component of it, the financial component, but I think over the last couple of years, at least since I've been here, we've been very fiscally responsible. I think we made a lot of good decisions. And personally, I think this is a good decision for the district and the children.
I'd still like to see it go on a ballot as a question and let the public decide if they want us to get a referendum to, like we did for the two turf fields. Get a referendum. If that's where they want to spend their money, then all for it. Let them be the ones to decide.
But at that point in time, it's going to cost us an awful lot more money than $250,000.
Maybe not.
Yes, it is.
Any other comment on this discussion?
Yeah, I have a question, I just wanted to clear on this. When we vote, we're voting on giving the $250,000.
Yes.
So the action of just doing the field of Thompson for no money is off it.
That's not being presented to you at this point. What is being presented is the contract that's attached to your yellow addendum.
I'll say one thing, Chris, I'm done. Sorry, how to do it. I'll make it brief. Districts that have done this have raised money. $250,000. The wall tournament raised $600,000 on one Columbus Day weekend. It's a fact. You can look it up online. Paramus does it, Walls does it, Old Bridge does it. We can make money with these fields.
But the money's not coming back to the Board of Ed. It's
Actually,
going to the township to improve other fields
It's
and to
coming
pay
into
off,
our
and to pay off the bonds.
I think
I just
normally
want to clarify something. It is coming into our facilities.
Yeah, but it's not
We are
coming into our
benefiting.
bank accounts.
if there's tournaments, those fees there'll be a formula, I'm assuming that will provide the most. However, it's-
Will that be part of the shared services communication in the future? It might be split from the district balance sheet?
Absolutely. Ms. Gallagher, roll call, please.
Mr. Bennett?
No.
Mr. Brand?
Yes.
Mrs. Caminiti?
Yes.
Mr. Cody?
Yes.
Mr. Donnelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Griffin?
No.
Mrs. Minies?
No.
Mr. Wexelberg?
Yes.
Mr. Avida?
Yes. Okay, moving right on. Right along. Mr. Gallagher, please, report to the business administrator, or secretary.
I'd like to ask the board for a motion to approve the financial reports, items 1 through 4.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Opposed?
I'm opposed on 1, 3, and 4, and I'm voting no on number, I'm abstaining on number 2.
I didn't get a chance to review it. Is it something that's something that we should be aware of?
No, I think it's just my perspective.
There's nothing.
Any other discussion?
We should be aware of.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry. Opposed, abstention. Ms. Gallagher, did you get the votes on it?
Yes, Mrs. Minies, no on 1, 3, and 4, and abstaining on 2.
Okay, thank you. Board of Superintendent, Dr. George.
Okay, I'd like to start by, reviewing some of the
Ms. Pasecki, before you leave, I want you to hear this, because it's actually relates directly to you, and I'm sorry to call you out, but it does. I reviewed the audio tapes, previous meetings, and in a very rare occurrence, I was extremely concise and as it pertains to the calendar. And you had questions about the calendar, and I was very concise in saying that, yes, we had representation on the calendar from parents, we had representation from staff, all the different collective bargaining units, administrators, teachers, paraprofessionals, custodians, we all came together. We presented 3 different calendars, and no group said, I'm all about calendar A, or, there were different perspectives. For example, the parents' rep concern was, and I'm sure this isn't going to surprise anybody, they wanted to be in school earlier. Parents, representing parents wanted to be in school earlier. From administration, and we were concerned about getting the professional development in early enough so that we could utilize that best practice strategies throughout the course of the year. So hence, that's the first 4 days, and I think you alluded to that. Last year with block scheduling, we thought that was a one-time. Well, with these continued initiatives from the federal government, from the state government, plus the district. So there was input on everyone, and I used the term consensus. And I guess everybody made concessions. There were concerns from the teachers union about coming in on the religious holidays in that first week. But everybody made concessions to come up with a calendar that we agreed upon. On top of that, that was changed. That was changed, although we didn't completely agree upon. Everybody was given input. And that was, again, changed from input of the board. But I guess, rather than say consensus, the best thing I could say is that everyone was given input. And there were concessions made to represent each of those bodies. So that's probably too much said, but just to understand the process. And everybody made concessions, come up with a calendar that tried to meet some of everybody's concerns, but not all. I guess is a fair way to say. So that's that. I just wanted to weigh in on that. And so in recommending from the superintendent's report, I recommend approval of 2013-14 12-month calendar, attachment 1. I recommend the approval of the 2014 school time schedule, attachment 2. Yes. Okay.
Well, I'm making a motion to table this whole month calendar.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Well, we didn't have a discussion, we discussed the executive session. And that's my fault, we don't move back in. That's no
Recommend the approval of the 2013 time schedule, attachment 2.
All in favor, I'm sorry. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
On the motion to table, item number 1 of the George's
Abstentions?
Superintendent of Schools recommends the approval of the following staff members to act on the Middletown High School Scholarship Committee for 2013 as per board policy 5470. Names mentioned under High School North and under High School South. Superintendent report, the incidents of violence and vandalism, weapons, substance abuse. We're one of the few districts that does this every month. There's been a trend, an increase, particularly in HIB, but also in violence over the winter months. It was discussed with all administrators just to make everyone aware. And we are working collaboratively to proactively put measures in place to address that. Some of the discussions we had is it's pretty normal for that to increase during those winter months when the students are cooped up inside, and a number of proactive steps were discussed by all the administrators, put in place, including a campaign to make sure that we were supporting positive behavior and decisions. So I just wanted to point that out as well. And that's it for the superintendent.
I need a motion. On numbers 2 through 5. Second.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Opposed?
I'm going to oppose on 4 and 5.
Abstentions? Curriculum Committee, Mrs. Griffin.
I'd like to make a motion to approve items number 1 through 6 in the curriculum.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Finance Committee. I need approval for transportation bids under item number 1, A and B. So moved. Second. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Policy Committee, Mr. Wexelberg.
Yes, I think we need a motion to pass items 1 through 4, second readings, the regulations 3230, 3281, 4230, 42.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Co-curricular Athletic Committee, Mr. Bennett.
I give my report, yes.
Negotiations Committee, Mr. Brand.
I'm happy to report that we'll be having a meeting on April the 8th. Between now and then, I'll be eating only raw meat and raw eggs.
Facilities Committee, Mr. Cody.
I reported last week at the workshop. The only thing else we've done, we finished up the elementary school doing our tours. We just completed Ocean, Port Monmouth, and Lincroft. And the last 2 buildings we have to visit are the 2 high schools. We'll be doing that hopefully soon.
Mr. Cody, if you can.
Yeah, he just, whatever he has to.
Student Services, Mrs. Higgins.
I need a motion to accept number 1 through 6.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention?
I'd like to abstain on number 6.
Oh, yeah, I did too. I want to abstain on number 6.
Yes.
Technology Committee, Mr. Donnelly?
No motions, but I'd like to thank Dr. George administration for putting together the technology purchases. The board has a copy tonight. This is good because it'll be ongoing and we can see where the needs are, the various schools where we need to purchase new technology. And thank you, Dr. George, for getting into this.
That's the end report. Thank you, Mr. Personnel Committee, Mrs. Camden.
I need a motion for items 1 through 6.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention?
Number 7 has to be read. Chris?
No, you
Oh,
decide.
okay.
You decide.
I need a motion for number 7 through 12.
Second. Discussion?
In that motion that we put out there, isn't there, which one?
That's number 11, that's HR 4.
Number 11. I just want to mention that we will be getting a new coach for high school north.
for,
Yes. And also on the discussion, I just want to make mention with Mrs. Kennedy. This is the appointment of Jacqueline Martin, serving as the principal at Middletown Village from April 1st through May 10th.
I did mention that last week.
You did.
And
Get those
there is, she's meeting tomorrow with staff in the morning, and then on Friday, there's a parent meeting, correct? So I think it's at 9:30 for the PFA, or the parent organization, and then at 10 for any parent event, correct?
Okay, stick around for fifth grade miss. Any other discussion?
yeah, I'm gonna vote yes on number 11 for the coaching salary, but, I'll probably have an issue with the next round.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention. Okay, this time, any old business? New business?
Under curriculum, we're doing this second grade assessment this year. We are doing a second grade assessment this year?
Correct.
And are they doing that on technology? They're going to take the test on the technology?
Correct.
Is it all up and running?
Right now, there are, the second grade assessments are few and far between because the companies are trying to catch up with the park. We have been working with Study Island, which is now the parent company is called Edmentum. We have had some issues with the company in terms of specifically aligning some of their digital resources with the Common Core, basically because Park really has to release sample test items that we feel really drill down on a standard-based level for our students. So Mrs. O'Hagan, Mrs. Crusoe, myself, we've been working with the company to let us try the second grade assessment. And we are going to utilize it, and we're hoping that there's not going to be any issues with it, but it's a new assessment. It's a new assessment for them, it's a new assessment for us. We're optimistic. But right now, there isn't any other assessments out there that we feel meet our needs. So we're very optimistic, but I guess we'll see when we move through it. But if you remember, Ms. Midway, last year, we didn't have any second grade assessment because it was cut out of the budget for the last couple of years. So
My concern is not the assessment. My concern is that we have the technology up and running for them to take it on. That's what my concern is. Because we've heard from many elementary schools how their computers are not up and running. And I think it's a great thing to try it on them, but I'm concerned about that.
It's only one grade level right now that's going to be testing, and we do feel that we can cycle children through for the assessment. There's no time restraints for it. It's not a state mandated test. It is a test that the district is administering it, and we do believe that we can cycle our students through in a reasonable manner. We're not under any time restraints.
All right, so I'm just wanting to know the technology's there.
We had a voluntary meeting with all second grade teachers to ask them for their input. We showed them the sample questions. We explained to them that there would be options to take it online or to do a paper pencil. Then have teachers use the data so we could get item analysis and all of the results that were going to perform instruction. And after careful consideration, the second grade teachers all agreed that with the exception of any student who could potentially have an IEP consideration, that they really should start to begin practicing taking an assessment online. It's a multiple choice test, doesn't involve keyboarding or typing skills. And we're not planning to administer it until the last week of May and the third week of June with a 2-week window. And by then, the 500 megawatts should